Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
3, 2, 1.
Good morning. I got sound in my ears.
You're live. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, it's all you, buddy. I'll be back.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing this morning after roar for the Detroit Lions after their preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals? We were defeated 16-14, but man, what a great game it was. It was fun to watch, and I have a very interesting story to start the day off. And it's about Ahmed Hassanin and his first play of the preseason. So Jeremy Reisman wrote up a really good story last night, and I'm going to read a little bit of it for you guys right now. So the Detroit Lions defensive end Ahmed Hassanin is coming into his second season, and he was injured last year, missed pretty much the whole season. He only played in the preseason for one game last year and was out for the entirety of the season. And this kid wants it so bad. And when he was drafted, he told the coach that he would die for the coach. Well, now he's manifesting, putting it out there into the universe that he wants to get some sacks. Well, he wanted to get a sack on Joe Burrow last night. And I'm going to read this little story that Jeremy Reisman put together. He wrote, Detroit Lions defensive end Ahmed Hassanin dreamed about sacking Joe Burrow. Then it happened on his very first snap from scrimmage. So on a third down, they put him in, and he got one. Detroit Lions defensive end Ahmed Hassanin had to compose himself. He had just accomplished a lifelong dream of his and was breaking down crying. But it was third down, and the second team Lions defense was trying to get an early stop going against the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's back up for a second. Before Thursday night's preseason opener, Hassanin was getting in one last cram session. He was watching tape, preparing for his first football action since last preseason. And, more importantly, he was manifesting. He knew he was going to go up against one of the best quarterbacks in football, Mr. Joe Burrow. Joe Cool, right? All he wanted was to sack Burrow, so he spent all day telling everyone, Coach Dan Campbell, his wife, that he was going to do just that. He was going to sack Joe Burrow. And he says, I truly, truly prayed about it, and I manifested it. And I said, I'm going to sack him before the game. And Coach Campbell said the same thing. I just kept telling my wife, I'm going to sack Joe Burrow. I'm going to get him. I just kept talking to God about it, end quote. Then on the Lions' fourth defensive snap of the game, Hassanin substituted in for his first snap of the preseason. And you already know what happened next. Ahmed got him, and he sure did. He came up through the middle and took Joe Burrow for a ride and hit him pretty good. And then after initially getting stymied, Hassanin made an inside move, tapped in his relentless motor, and took Burrow down. And then it happened. The emotions took over the moment. He said, I cried. I didn't know what to do. I literally broke down, but I had to go back on defense. Hassanin has been one of the biggest stories of Lions training camp so far. Coming into 2026, he was still considered a very raw player with a great story and an even greater football character, but expectations remained relatively low. However, he's been one of the most explosive and consistent playmakers on defense since camp opened up. And by translating that promise on game days, he's starting to earn the trust of his coaches. And this is what Dan Campbell had to say last night. I don't feel like I'm surprised. I felt like they came out and made plays just the way Ahmed played. The things he's able to do, you feel like it would translate, certainly with this preseason. It was good to see. It was maximum effort. And I'm telling you what, Hassanin gives maximum effort on every single play. But then Hassanin wasn't done. In the third quarter, he bent around the Bengals' left tackle and swatted the ball out of Josh Johnson's hands for a third down strip sack. That, too, was the result of his relentless preparation. We always credit defensive line coach Casey Rogers. When you get a rush, you have to reach for it, Hassanin said. When the ball is going to be there, we call it a tomahawk on air. You just reach, and then the ball is going to be there. Hassanin's story has now become more than just a feel-good narrative to take you through the offseason. He has a real chance not only to make the roster, but to make an impact on defense this year. But the second-year defensive lineman is not thinking too far down the road. Quote, there is much work to be done, and I have a feeling I'm going to get so much better because I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep stacking, and I'm just going to not look too far ahead and too far behind. And that was the story by Jeremy Reisman from Pride of Detroit. Jeremy does a really good job, and that was a really cool article. And now I have a little something, if I can find it here. Let's see. I had a little story from Cincinnati. We'll see if I can find it again. Let's see here. So what was everybody's thoughts on the preseason game last night? Did you guys enjoy it? Who was your favorite players to watch? Do you think anybody stood out? Do you think anybody had a really bad game? Anybody have a really good game for you? Some of the people I thought had good games, Ahmed Hassanin for sure. I think he had the best game. And I don't know who I would say had the worst game. Maybe Dominic Lovett, because he had 8 targets, 3 catches, and 3 drops with a fumble. So possibly him. But let's see what you guys have to say. Who do you guys think was the best and the worst from last night's matchup? Let's see if I can find. There was a little story this morning that the coach for the Bengals was none too happy with the hits that Joe Burrow took from Ahmed Hassanin and Eric O'Neill. He did not like the way those 2 hits went down, and the second one, especially by Eric O'Neill, really took Joe Burrow to the ground and folded him in half like a pretzel. So what a night for the Detroit Lions defense against the starters for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, so good morning, everybody. We got a few people in today. We got John Desage. We got Attila the Hun, Gino, Grandma Trace as always, Sunburst, Amon Green. Hey, that's Aaron Green. I thought it was Amon Green. I was like, man, we got the ex running back for the Packers in here. Attila the Hun is in here. Edge is not the answer. Mike P. We got a few people in this morning. So what did you guys think? Catching up 3 minutes behind, listening to Eric at 2 times. I thought Dobbs moved the ball pretty well. Decent. Altmaier has a lot of potential. Mistakes on the O-line need to be cleaned up. And that was from Grandma Trace. I agree with all of that. I think that Altmaier needs to work on his wet ball preparation. And I think that Michael Neese needs to work on snapping a ball that is wet, because he had 2 or 3 really bad snaps in that game last night. Oh, hey, there he is. He's back in the attack. I can't find the little article I was going to read, but that's okay. Are you back with us, Will? I heard that.
I am. I'm working on it. I just sat down. Man. No sleep, up since 5, no coffee yet, so I had to have some coffee, man.
Yeah.
I can't drink water in the morning, so it's like protein shake, cold milk, and coffee. That's all I can do in the morning.
Well, I can keep us going for a couple more minutes. Give you a minute if you want.
No, I'm good. I mean,
Okay.
you can do whatever you want, but I'm good. I'm just
All right.
just
Well,
getting
we're
set
going to
up.
go through the other preseason action that happened last night.
Yeah,
There
let me do a little reset so I can get us rolling. Okay.
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight.
What a play by Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell, bam, meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that.
And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up.
That is textbook linebacker play.
What the I'm talking about?
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is the post-game morning roars. So after every single game, we're going to be doing or one of us, or me, or if Eric is not here, it'll be a post-game morning roar. So a while ago, I started doing a segment on DetroitFootballJournal.com, which was the morning roar and then the evening roar. And I was doing articles, and then things got busy. But it's something that I wanted to do this year. And it was kind of funny because now the Lions are, what is their moniker, their slogan this year?
I don't even know.
Yeah, it was something, ready to roar. Was that it? Ready to roar?
Huh.
I don't know. I saw some billboards with it.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I haven't been downtown Detroit at all this year.
So anyway, it's the morning roar. I used to do the morning after, and then the 7 a.m. guy decided to try to steal that from me. So I just keep changing what I do because, at some point, someone will steal this too. They always do. It is what it is. It's not like it hasn't been done before me, but I try to be different so that we can all be a little bit different. But anyway, I missed everything that you were talking about. I knew you were going to do Ahmed Hassanin.
Yep, that's what I started with.
Which is funny because I was going to do a video this morning before we got started. I didn't do it, but I wrote up this whole thing on Ahmed just to kind of talk about, what he's done throughout camp, what he did last night, how important it was, how he missed the sack opportunity, dance. He failed to do the dance. And Hassanin Mahdi, I don't know if you caught that last night in the chat, but Hassanin, he was saying that he was supposed to do the walk like an Egyptian dance, and he forgot to do it. But yeah.
Well, he'll have to do it at Ford Field on Saturday.
That's right. That's right. Look, I'm not surprised by Ahmed, man. What an incredible game for the kid. And he's, I'll just give you some of my cliff notes on it. Were you done with Ahmed?
Yeah.
And let me just kind of give you some cliff notes on what I was going to talk about, because there's maybe a couple of points you didn't get. I have no idea. But I think the most important development for Ahmed this season, it's not just Ahmed being Ahmed, because this is him. This is what he does. It's that change back to the position of the big end, which is very close to what he ran at Boise State, out on the big end. And so he's just wreaking havoc right now because he feels comfortable. He's, obviously he's changed his body. I mean, Ahmed is massive. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed this about him, but I mean, he's just so wide and thick, and he just looks different this year. But I mean, you could see it last year, how different Ahmed looked in comparison to some of the other guys on the field. But last night, here's what I noticed. I went back and watched the film because, of course, I couldn't sleep right away last night. So I went and found some highlights, and this is what I noticed right away. On that first play, the first snap, Ahmed made contact with Dalton Risner. So he was lined up on the left side of the defense. He made contact with Dalton Risner. Dalton Risner comes out to kind of meet him, right? And then Ahmed loops. He does a loop stunt around Joe Bacci. And so then Risner goes to follow Bacci, and then Hassanin, bang. I mean, he sees that crease, and then Risner's like, oh, shit. And then he starts to go, back to get in front of Hassanin, misses him. Hassanin continues up the crease, uses that speed, all that yoga or whatever he used to do, Pilates, I don't know. And then he gets into the backfield, right? Looping back in and down, and then comes up with the sack on Joe Burrow. So right away, huge difference on this defensive line that I don't think that we've used enough of this in the past, but the loop stunts, the games, the mugs, I mean, you name it, the twists, everything that this defensive line can utilize. This is part of what I saw or I was foreshadowing at least what I was going to hopefully see from this defense this year, which is more games. Man, you got to get these guys moving around. You got to get them doing something different than just kind of running, rushing, south to north. Get these guys moving around and create some chaos and some confusion. And it worked. Haas, he slammed through the A-gap on the other side, right? He slammed through the A-gap on the other side just by doing a little loop stunt, involving the linebacker and making it work. And then in the third quarter, again, you guys already all know this, but what I noticed on this one is that, he bent around the left tackle this time to get to Josh Johnson. And then I did watch the strip sacks last night where, I thought that the ball went forward. Now, I know you can't technically advance a fumble, but when the offensive lineman jumped on it, I didn't think that it cleared. I didn't think that I thought that it cleared the line of scrimmage, but clearly it didn't. So 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 4 tackles, that's production. He really had a good game last night. And that wasn't all of it. He was everywhere. He was around all the place. And so big night for Ahmed. My video will come out later. Ahmed Hassanin Explodes will be out a little bit later on today. I'll get it done after the show. I was going to do it during the show, but you already did a lot of Haas, so I'm not gonna pepper these fine folks this morning with just all Ahmed Hassanin. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining last night. We had 288 people in the live stream at one point, over 13,000 views. That is probably one of the better live streams that we've had in a long time. Hopefully it continues throughout the season. It's a crapshoot with live streams because a lot of them get buried. Mine always have, and I really just haven't had a big audience for it. But last night was pretty good. The graphics will get better. That was all done on a whim. But everything will get better by this next run here in a couple weeks. So keep coming. We'll keep producing. And I just want to say thanks. Dev Siak, if you don't know by now, at Dev Siak, you won the first Madden 27 giveaway. It was announced last night. Make sure you email me, mailbag@rockdon.com. Mailbag@rockdon.com. Get me your digits, your address, all that good stuff. And the games will go out at the end of the month. So whether I send you a code or a gift card or whatever, it'll all go out at the end of the month. So what's next on your list?
What's next on my list is some preseason action. So there were 4 other games last night. We'll start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They won against the Green Bay Packers 28-9.
Wow.
Rookie quarterback Drew Aller stole the show in his debut, leading the Steelers to a decisive victory. The 3rd-round pick out of Penn State was incredibly efficient, completing 10 of 13 passes for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Aller also showcased his mobility, scrambling for a 3-yard rushing touchdown to cap off an impressive first outing.
That was Steelers in Packers?
Yes.
Did Packers play any starters? I know that Jordan Love was in for a little bit.
I do not know. I did not get that information.
Yeah, I just don't know how many starters they played last night.
Yeah,
I'm even curious how many starters Pittsburgh played last night.
Yeah.
All right, so you have some NFL stuff you want to hit real quick? Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
And then the Indianapolis Colts played the New England Patriots to a tie yesterday, 13-13. The matchup ended at a tie with the Patriots opting to rest the majority of their starters. Now, quarterback for the Colts, Anthony Richardson, saw his first game action since early last season. He completed 11 of 14 passes for 145 yards and scored on a 1-yard quarterback sneak. Not too bad, right? But he also turned the ball over twice with a fumble and an interception, which won't help his cause to get out of Indianapolis. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers 27, the Houston Texans 7. The Chargers controlled the fourth quarter to turn a close game into a 27-7 blowout win. Trey Lance started at quarterback and led an opening scoring drive. Running back Amar Johnson was a standout performer, powering in for a 7-yard rushing touchdown and later breaking off a 55-yard reception that led to being up another score. And then the Arizona Cardinals They won 27-14 over the Las Vegas Raiders. The Cardinals quarterback Kirk Cousins was efficient in his limited action, capping off the game's opening drive with a 13-yard touchdown strike to tight end Michael Mayer. For the Raiders, number 1 overall draft pick Fernando Mendoza, he made his preseason debut, completing 10 of 16 passes for 97 yards and a 6-yard touchdown to Jack Besh. And then finally, the last game of the night, Tennessee Titans 19, the San Francisco 49ers 13. In his preseason debut as Tennessee's head coach, Robert Saleh picked up a 19-13 victory against his former team, the 49ers. The Titans played their starters early and opened the game with an impressive 11-play, 95-yard drive that ended in a Tony Pollard touchdown run. For the 49ers, quarterback Curtis Rourke looked sharp, completing 12 of 14 passes for 101 yards before he was forced to exit the game with a rib injury. And that is around the NFL preseason edition.
Good work. I'm just going to throw this out there. Our live stream last night had more views than every other channel not named Woodward Sports.
Nice.
Or I didn't see Chat Sports yet, so we probably were third last night, which is pretty good for the first go around. I'm going to kick it back to the Lions, man. So last night we did a brief rundown of what happened last night. And I can't say that I dug too much deeper, but I did pull a few things together because I think it looked, the conversation on preseason, it swings wildly, right? You're going to have some fans last night that saw Isaac Tesla and they're like, see, Brad wasted 3 third-round picks and man, he looks like trash and blah. Look, y'all, it's preseason, and it's Luke Altmaier throwing him the football. And you have a new offensive scheme. So he's relearning everything right now. When Tesla got involved in the game, last year, he was in the system for a minute, and everything was kind of copacetic, right? And there was, those are some big passes, some big catches for Tesla, and that stuff still resides within him. Dan Campbell mentioned last night that he was not worried one bit about Isaac Tesla, and neither am I. Why? For the most important reason, above all else, it's preseason. Like, I really don't care because it's vanilla. And, I mean, they didn't even put a sprinkle on top of anything last night. It was so boring of an offense. If we get into week 4 and Isaac Tesla is struggling a little bit, I'm still not worried. And the reason is because we still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. We still have Jameson Williams. We still have Jahmyr Gibbs. We still have Greg Dortch. And just with those guys alone, it is going to be really tough for anybody, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th on the depth chart to really be heavily involved in this offense. What I am looking for, though, is I am looking forward to see one of these, UFL guys that has joined this roster this year to really make an impact. Black and Martin last night, I believe it was Martin. Both had good catches. Obviously, the one was called back on a push off. Well, both those guys. I mean, look, taller receivers that can play that X position, which is where Tesla is. I mean, he's the starting 3rd wide receiver at the X, and so I'm looking to see what they're going to do behind him. I think that the Lions potentially could go to 6 receivers and keep an extra X style of receiver. I don't think it's going to be Tom Kennedy. And Tom Kennedy didn't have, a great night last night either. So, and that's unusual for Tom Kennedy in the preseason, but it's just preseason, man. We just switched centers. Quarterback wasn't supposed to be that quarterback for the game. He was supposed to get 1 quarter probably in that game, not 3. So long way to go. It's early, but you know what showed up last night? The defense. The defense showed up. Yeah, we lost the game. I expected the loss. Could care less about the score, honestly. I'm just glad to see that the Lions finally put something together in the waning moments of the game to, put some points up on the board. But let me go top to bottom here. 16-40 loss doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. But Dan Campbell learned a lot. And like I said last night, Eric, there's got to be some chairs broken when the Lions get into their meeting room and they start breaking down this film. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if there's going to be one stuck in the wall by the time Dan Campbell sees how many stupid penalties that this team had last night. It was ridiculous. There was more dirty laundry on that field than there is in my hamper right now. It was pathetic, you know. Can't have this stuff. Rookie mistakes, you understand, right? You get that, but it was repetitive. It was inconsistent play all over the place. Oh, before I forget, I don't think we have an additional update on Rakestraw. I just want to make sure that you didn't see anything either. But if you did, let me know here in a little bit. So Burrow, you know, he managed the first team offense last night for the Bengals. They had 50 yards and 3 points of offense against our defense last night. That's a huge storyline. I mean, that is a huge improvement coming off of last year. You know, look, our defense was still good, but man, we were giving up explosive after explosive and it was just, we couldn't stop anybody. And so last night really made me feel good. Again, opening game for them too. They didn't play well. It's not like they're burning everything down. And look, our defense that we trotted out there made plays. Ahmed Hassanin made plays. Nick Whiteside made plays. I mean, Abney made plays. Everybody was making plays. And that's the only takeaway that we should take away from a preseason game is how did these players individually play? What did the communication look like? Were there any breakdowns? And yes, there was. But defensively, it looked like they stayed pretty in tune with each other. So on the night, Cincinnati finished with just 256 total yards, 3.7 yards per play. I'll take that all day. All day. 97 rushing yards. That's about 47 too many for me. 3.1 yards per carry, though. I love that number. You telling me that if the Lions are going to produce 3.1 yards per carry on defense this season, man, we're going to have a great season. And only one touchdown very early in the game. The offense actually outgained Cincinnati. The Lions offense outgained Cincinnati 274 yards to 256 yards on the night, which is weird because, Eric, as you remember during the game, it's like we had nothing going. Like we didn't have any yards. And we ran for 129, which there you go, man. Like that is a huge storyline again for the Lions last night is the run game. Sionevaki's out. Pacheco's out. Would have been really nice to see Pacheco last night. Maybe we'll see him soon. I don't know. But 5 yards a carry, right where we want to be, right? 5 yards a carry. Anything north of that is gravy. So they couldn't overcome the 3 turnovers. They couldn't overcome the 9 penalties for 84 yards. And that is the bigger story. So the young defense made plays, the running backs moved the football, and the offense repeatedly gave those yards back on penalties. The Lions would have had roughly 400 yards of offense last night. Oh, I could do the math. About 368 had they just not had all the penalties last night. So before I go into Luke Altmaier, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, Edge is the answer with the comment of the day. Will sounding like Oprah out there. You made a play. And you made a play.
You get a car. You get a car. You get a car.
Everybody's making plays.
Yeah. You made a play. You made a play. All right. So Luke Altmaier last night. Up and down night for Luke. Look, I think he's got a beautiful arm. And I think that arm was on display a few times. He was 13 of 22, 130 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, almost a spot on call. I'm going to keep on saying that, Robbie, until I see you in the chat. My call last night for Luke, 135 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, and man, was he close. He was real close. We almost a spot on call there. I missed it by 5 yards. But the 53.2 rating is not great. Right? He had 4 runs for 1 yard. He had a successful 2-point conversion. That's growth. But what happened? The numbers made Altmaier's night look worse than the actual performance. His first interception came after a very well-placed ball that hit Isaac Tesla in the hands, deflected off of his helmet, and then landed into Battle's hands. Anytime a ball goes 12 feet up in the air, it's going to get caught by somebody, and it's typically not the offense. The second came with seconds remaining while Altmaier was trying to manufacture one last possession. The real negative was the ball security and operation early. If you guys remember early in the game, he went to hand off the ball to Sailors and just kind of like chucked the ball at his stomach because he lost the football. And every time you watch Jared Goff turn and hand off the ball, he usually turns with 2 hands and then pushes that ball into the stomach. The ball going to the running back is 100% the quarterback's responsibility. Luke Altmaier needs to work on that, and I'm willing to bet that he's going to be doing a lot of drills in the next practice covering just that aspect of his game. His best football came when the game really demanded it, though, and I think that's what you're looking for from a very young football player. I don't care that he was a UDFA. He's a rookie, right? He's a rookie. They were down 16-6. He directed a 12-play, 80-yard drive, finished it with a 24-yard touchdown to Tariq Black before keeping the ball for a 2-point conversion. That is growth just in one game, where he couldn't get really anything moving. The penalties were killing the offense, and then he just puts that team on his back, and he's like, we're going to go get one. And he went and got one. So this really matters a lot for a rookie who entered camp behind Teddy Bridgewater and then gets thrown into the mix, with just 4 days before a preseason game to start 3 out of the 4 quarters. My biggest takeaway for Luke Altmaier last night was nobody won quarterback 2, but Altmaier showed enough poise late, in this game to really keep pushing for a job behind Jared Goff. The next step is clean up the operation. Let's clean up the penalties and get some faster processing time. Look, I thought he played with some active feet early. I mentioned it last night. He was real active with his feet. And then that kind of slowed down. It's almost like he started to get too comfortable. And that's when things started to kind of break down a little bit. Has to stay with that up-tempo footwork. I'll do Josh Dobbs, and then we'll come back to you. So Josh Dobbs last night, as expected, he doesn't have a lot of the install in. So they put him in limited work last night. But there was a difference, Eric. I know we talked about this last night too, but there was a big difference between Josh Dobbs, the pop off that arm, the command of that huddle, just everything that he was seeing on the field, some difficult passes that he was trying to make. He actually threaded the ball, put it where it needed to be, tight window throws. The receiver or the tight end just didn't come up with it. So Dobbs had been in Drew Petzing's offense before and has played with him twice before with the Browns and the Cardinals. But this time, only for a few days, and that is not enough time to learn enough of the offense to be successful in even a preseason game. Now, you could go out there and play some backyard football, but that's either going to get people hurt or it's not going to help you with the game plan. And the game plan is to identify your weaknesses and figure out a way to get better by the next game. He still operated 3 possessions. He produced 2 scoring drives, 2 field goals, which included actually 3 field goals. I think his best individual sequence last night was a 15-yard completion to Dominic Lovett, followed by a 9-yard scramble for a first down. Love seeing him work his legs last night. The negative kind of came at the edge of the scoring range, facing 3rd and 10 from Cincinnati's 38. Dobbs took a sack and pushed the offense backward. There wasn't much aggressive downfield work because there really couldn't be. The playbook available to him is super limited, so let's not judge a book by its cover right now. Dobbs did what he could do and what he was allowed to do last night, but there's a lot more from Dobbs. I'm very comfortable with Dobbs being that QB2. I wish they would have just done it in the beginning of the year, to be honest with you. My biggest takeaway for Dobbs looked like the veteran that I knew that he would be. He knew how to survive, and this game is obviously not too big for him. He's 32 years old, I think. He's still young. He's played plenty of games in the league. The competition look, between Altmaier and Dobbs, it's going to go all 3 preseason games. Nothing's going to be decided. And quite honestly, the Lions might be forced to keep 3 quarterbacks. I just don't know how they're going to do it unless, and only if, Dobbs is willing to have the handshake deal. And he just might, because of the relationship with Petzing and the former relationship with Dan Campbell when he was in Detroit for a month, hot month. It was a layover back in 22, 23? I think it was 22. So anyway, that's your quarterbacks for last night. Anything you want to add?
I think as far as Dobbs goes, he's kind of behind the 8 ball because he's only been here a couple of days.
Yeah.
This is a completely new offense made for Jared Goff. Even though he played with Petzing, everything is different. It's going to be different verbiage. It's going to be different plays because this is made for Jared Goff. This is not made for Josh Dobbs. This is not made for Altmaier. This is made for Jared Goff, our starter. So this is a custom one-off offense. So for him to just come in here and get it right away, that's just not going to happen. It's going to take a little bit. And I think he did admirably well last night. I I loved seeing his wheels when he used them. I love seeing Altmaier's wheels when he used it on the 2-point conversion. I wish he would have used them a little bit more, especially with the rain yesterday. But they probably told him, don't run, no matter what. Don't run, just sling the ball around. They want to see what this kid can do with his arm. So, hey, maybe he was doing as he was told and not able to really take the reins off and go full blast yet. But we'll see.
Well, hey, good news is we have a couple more preseason games. I saw a question in the chat. Someone was asking about my, I think it was biggest winners or losers of the night. I went through it last night. I'll just give you the names, but then I'm gonna continue going through the list this morning of the Morning Roar breakdown. So my biggest winner of the night was Ahmed Hassani. Now I think that everybody probably has that guy as their number one. Jake Bates had a huge night. Jacob Sailors, his stock was up. And Skylar Gill-Howard quietly started to perform later in the game. Really loved him chasing down the quarterback there towards the end, and Josh Johnson. Keith Abney. I mean, look, turnovers, making plays, tackles, big hit. Showed Rakestraw how to tackle. Nick Whiteside, big night. Raheem Blackshear, for the little bit of time that he's been in, look, he played pretty well last night. I think that his explosiveness was on display. Luke Altmaier, a very mixed night, but I wasn't extremely disappointed or anything. But he wasn't in the top of my, he wasn't at the top of my list last night. My worst grades of the night would be Isaac Tesla. Concentration has to be there. Offensive line, way too many drive-killing penalties last night. Dominic Lovett, look, he had the good, the bad, the ugly. He had everything last night. And that's not what I'm looking for out of Lovett. Lovett has been having a decent camp, not a great camp. He needed to explode last night. He needed to have, at least a decent night. But again, everyone's going to get that first preseason game pass. It's this next game where things are going to level up. Playbook's going to increase a little bit. It's going to open up, and these players have to perform. Tyreek Black was on my stock down list as well. Ennis Rakestraw, Mekhi Wingo were injured. Amaris Brown was injured at one point. Ahmed Hassani was injured at one point, but then he was fine. Special teams last night was on my stock down list because they just weren't clean enough. Even though Jake Bates had a great night and Jack Fox had a great night, those weren't the problems. The problems were covering kicks, punts, and kickoffs. So those have to get better. So that's the brief report for stock up, stock down. So that's also another segment that we'll be doing during the season. You got the Morning Roar, you got your stock up, stock down report, and then the full game breakdown. Stats usually don't show up, right, from PFF, which we're not using this year. Well, I mean, we will use it but you know what I'm saying.
SIS Solutions, are they going to have stuff up from the preseason game list?
Well, you go for it. I have the NFL stuff.
All right.
I have the NFL GSIS. So I have all of the stats from last night, the actual stats that the NFL keeps for every game. Now, it doesn't have things in here like, if you're looking for efficiencies, there's just not a whole lot of efficiencies in here. But it's just straight up stats, man. Sacks, sack yards, quarterback hits, interceptions, passes defensed, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, special teams. You have tackles, assisted, forced fumble recovery, block kicks, tackles, pass rush stats. They have tackles. I need to read that. Hold on. Come on, click it. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I just moved it to the front. My eyes are bugging on me this morning. Double click to sort. No, I don't want to click it to sort. I want the key. Anyway, it's just basic stats, but at least it gets us it gets us to a better place, immediately. I mean, we can go to ESPN or anywhere else to get the basic stats. It's usually on Tuesdays or 2 days following the post game that we go into the big efficiency conversations of how this team is actually producing. All right, take a brief break. When we get back, I'm going to go through the rest of the list of kind of what happened last night, give you guys this broad overview of the Morning Roar right here on Rocked On Detroit Lions and DetroitFootballJournal.com. By the way, before we go to break, big shout out and thank you to everybody last night. I think we had over 100 new subscribers on the channel. We had about a dozen or so on Detroit Football Journal, including about 6 new paid subscribers. We had a couple new members of the channel last night. So big shout out to all of you. You are the reason why we're here. You're the best fans in the world and the best audience that I love, enjoying my mornings with, my evenings with, my afternoons with, whenever we're doing content. So keep being you. I'm going to do my best to keep being me, and just share it with a friend, man. Subscribe if you're not. Turn notifications if you don't. We'll be right back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
All right, sorry about that. I had to take off for a brief sec.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to get into next, man? You want to keep going down the list, or did you have anything else you wanted to add this morning?
Well, I got a little bit. So some preseason game injuries. The San Francisco 49ers QB Curtis Rourke left the game with a rib injury and was taken to the hospital after having trouble breathing.
Well, that's not good.
No. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals guard Chase
Bisontis
suffered a knee injury described by the team as not good, while running back Jeremiah Love picked up a minor ankle injury. QB Carson Beck also sat out as a precaution due to a pre-existing rib injury. Then up for the Detroit Lions, cornerback Ennis Rakestraw exited the game with what was initially feared to be a major issue, but head coach Dan Campbell clarified it as just an arm contusion or bruise.
That's great news.
Defensive tackle Mekhi Wingo was evaluated for a concussion. And then safety Lauren Strickland is set for an MRI on a pulled leg muscle. So it must be a pretty bad pull if he's getting an MRI. And then for the Indianapolis Colts special teams coordinator, yes, the coordinator, Brian Mason, suffered a knee injury after getting rolled into on the sideline. And that is your injuries for the preseason week 1.
That's crazy. Is that the exhaustive list, or is that just
That's just the list I could find of all the injuries, the major injuries from the 4 games last night.
It's insane. Who was the coordinator that got rolled up?
Brian Mason from Indianapolis Colts, the special teams coordinator.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to get out of the way, man. These guys move fast.
I'm trying to get Dan Campbell's press conference up. Now, we caught bits and pieces of it last night. But I want to get that up, and then when we're done with that, then we'll go back into the rest of the Morning Roar breakdown. All right, here's Dan Campbell from last night. Got to fix our screen too. Get everything adjusted, man. Everything was all messed up last night.
we doing? Thought the guys competed. I thought a lot of those guys took the coaching to the field. Something we really wanted to see. Overall, there were some guys I thought really showed up. Just off the top of my head, one of my favorites was watching Sky run down the quarterback there on a force of critical fourth down, give the offense the ball back. I mean, it's little stuff like that, man. That takes a tremendous amount of effort, but that's what's expected, and that was awesome. Cooper's hit, man. That was such a bang play. That was close. I mean, really, it could have gone either way. Probably had they called it that, it would have stayed, but I love the hit, man. Black's catch over there on the sideline. I thought that was outstanding. It was a hell of a throw by Altmaier. His play to go up and make it. I know they threw the flag, but that was, 8 out of 10 times we'll take that. And then obviously him scoring at the end. But there was a number of guys made plays. Ahmed, man, was disruptive. Made a lot of plays. I thought Roger did some things at corner. It was a ton of guys. So. That was good. What I didn't like were penalties. We played really sloppy, particularly on offense. We shot ourselves in the foot, and we were not good on third down. And that was primarily because of drops / penalties. So we got to clean that stuff up. It's the first one. We'll learn from this, and the guys will get better.
No, you got to start with NS. He took 2 shots to opposite shoulders. Didn't look good. Just your initial prognosis there.
You get a better view than I did. So he took one on both shoulders at one point.
No, he took one from teammate Devin White, like 3
Was
snaps.
it on the same play?
3 snaps before.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't get to see all that stuff. I wish they just give us a monitor we can walk around with. We can actually watch the game with you guys while we're watching that game, because you can't see all the little things. But it's not major. Ended up being, it's not a headshot. We just think he got a little contusion in the arm. And he thought it would, it kind of made him numb. And so I think he'll be all right.
We've seen on that in camp, obviously, have a great start. What's it mean for tonight to see that 2 sacks, for someone just active?
It was great to see. And I don't really feel like I'm surprised. I felt like he would come out and make plays. I mean, when you, just the nature of the way he's been practicing and some of the things that he's able to do, you feel like would translate, certainly into this preseason game. So it was good to see. He just plays maximum effort, and he's disruptive, and man, he's gonna learn from this and only get better.
Sailors did some pretty good things early as well. I mean, he's a guy that
Who's that?
Sailors.
Oh yeah, yes.
He did in the pass game and the run game, obviously with some special teams too. Just that third kind of running back role seems up for grabs. What did he do to help himself tonight?
Well, I mean, he was probably our most potent player on offense. I thought he made a lot of plays for us. I mean, he was kind of the steady workhorse we had early in that game. If we were coming up with anything positive, he had most of it. So I like where he's at. He does have some juice, and there again, because we lived with him last year, he can play some special teams, and that's going to be big for that next role because, look, we know what those 2 backs are that are at the top, and we know what Vikey is. Vikey's one of the best special teams players in this league. So if that 4th back's going to make it, he's got to be able to help on special teams. So it was good to see Sailors do what he did today. And look, I thought Blackshear, man, made some plays, and we like Robichaud. I mean, Robichau's been here since day one, man. He's been durable. He's been out there for every rep, and he took some snaps. So it was a good group.
Might be a little harder to get a read on the offensive line in real time, but just what you have like in his debut.
Well, until I really watch the film, I can't make a true judgment. I'll tell you this though, I didn't feel like my eyes were ever on he or Larry, and that's a positive. I thought. That means that's a pretty good sign. Like, man, they're handling their business, because I didn't feel like we had any issues on the perimeter with those 2 guys in there. But so I thought he did a good job, and we'll tell on the tape. But I thought he handled it well.
What are your thoughts on Luke's debut, quarterback, and toward the end of the half? Just curious, why was it pulled because of the fumble, or was that kind of planned to get Josh Dobbs some work at the end of the second half?
No, that was just to get Dobbs in. The plan was really to get Dobbs in for the second quarter, and then we kind of let Luke bleed in a little bit. And so I wanted to get Dobbs in with that O-line, at least a few snaps, and And look, Dobbs has played a lot. He's a smart guy, but I didn't want to throw him to the wolves either. He just got here. So that was always the plan. Just give him just a little bit here and let Altmaier take most of the game. So there was nothing there. I thought Luke did a really good job. You know, for a young guy, I want to be careful. I don't want to give him too much sugar and rot his teeth out.
I love that statement. I got to steal that.
You feel in practice, the composure, the not too big for him, the accuracy, those deep balls, man, he's got a touch about him, you know, to make some of these throws. I thought it showed up, you know, and the mistakes that he did make, they're great. Thank goodness. You know, you have to have these to learn from at any position, but especially his. So, man, I thought it was a good debut for him.
You open up with the Gil Howard chase down. We've seen him kind of maybe gain some momentum in camp, been working him in a little bit with the first team as some guys have been down. What have you liked about his progress since he's been in the building?
Well, he's another one of these players that's, for a young guy, he's very conscientious, and he's got a serious approach about him. Just like you don't have to tell him something 5 times. Like you tell him once, he's got it, and he locks in. And I think one of the biggest things that, you know, for him was going to be, man, how does he handle some of this dirty work? You know, you play out there in a passing league in college, and he's ripping and roaring up the field and getting edges, and that's one of the things he's really been good at. Well, how does he handle some of this dirty work, the double teams? And, you know, it got on him early because, you know, you're facing NFL players and some of this stuff, and he's just progressively gotten better and better and handling his own. And, you know, certainly we're moving him a little bit. We got movement on the line, which suits him well. And I see the player growing. He's growing. And he's an effort player that's got violence and skill about him. You know, he's different. You know, I've mentioned this in the receiver room. When you've got different skill sets in the receiver room, man, now it really opens up what you're able to do. You know, because of what they're able to do. It's the same way on D-line. If you got some guys that have a little bit of different niche to them, you know, that can rush the quarterback or can play this position, it only helps you open up a little bit more of what you can do schematically for Shep and Petzing.
It is preseason, so I don't know what you read into it, but they played their starters the first 2 series.
Yeah.
And what do you take from your defense? You got a sack to get off the field. You held them to a field goal the second time. A lot of guys fighting for roster spots or second teamers. What does that mean, I guess, in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I think more for me than anything, you know, sometimes, you know, you don't know it until you put them out there and, you know, all of a sudden there's Chase lined up over you, or Burrow's the freaking quarterback, or, you know, and you start getting these big eyes and you don't know it. And I've kind of mentioned this before, and the rep is done before we even started. Before they even snap the ball, the rep's done. And you just want to know it's not too big for them. And, man, they're ready to go challenge and take on the competition. Doesn't mean they're going to win every rep, but, man, it's not too big for them. And they embrace that, and they're trying to do what you taught them to do. And so I from afar felt that out of our defense. I thought they went out there, man, they competed and made some plays. It wasn't perfect, but I thought, you know, they hold their own for a first preseason game.
Dan, we've talked to you about Tesla's maybe a little bit of up and down start to camp.
Yeah.
The one gets through into the face for the pick, and then the 4th down he can't hang on to. Is there anything you need to say to a young player just to make sure it doesn't spiral a little bit mentally for them?
No, I think, look, like anything, I remember what those days are like. You know, you want everything to come in a hurry, and you just, you know, you're going into your second year, and you know, you can place a lot of pressure on yourself to really, you know, especially when you want to be great. I mean, he wants to be great, and so I think more than anything is just stay the course. And I feel like Tesla, you know, I don't feel like I need to, you know, with him. Now, it doesn't mean I won't say something, but he's a pretty headsy guy. He's a pretty confident guy, and he's pretty good about, you know what, I just got to go back to work. And that's always served him well. He's got a damn good coach in that room, and Scotty. And man, all it takes is a couple of wins, you know, just a couple of wins at critical times against some guys in practice, and then in a game, to all of a sudden it skyrockets. But, you know, it goes back up. So Sometimes it's with a young player, it's a little bit of that pendulum swing. So he'll be fine. He's going to be just fine.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
'54 straight.
I mean, we didn't really learn much more from Dan this morning than we did last night because we kind of heard the same thing. I thought maybe we missed a little bit last night, but I think we got it all in. You know, I said the same thing last night about Miller. Like, you really got to watch the film, and with NFL Pro not doing the film during preseason, which is stupid, pay for it. They should do it. It's being recorded anyway. I have to go in and do cuts, go in and watch the all 22 and or go in and watch the game that I recorded last night to do some cuts. Baldy broke down Miller last night. Now, I will tell you on a couple of these plays, which I can't show because it's NFL footage, but I am going to play it so you can hear what he said about Miller. What I noticed on Miller last night, high pads. And again, I don't know what Baldy's about to say because I haven't heard this yet. I just found it. But high pads kind of got lifted off the ground at times, was kind of floating. But I think he did a good job. But there's just some things that he has to clean up with how he sets because his anchor last night was high. He didn't anchor down and become a tree trunk rooted in the ground. He was kind of floating a little bit. And maybe it was nerves, you know, maybe he's just trying to figure out the NFL speed. And I would say the answer to all that is yes. It's going to take him a minute. Wasn't bad. Wasn't good. Probably where it needs to be right now. So he's got a long way to go. Let's listen to what Baldy said about Blake Miller.
His first round pick was Blake Miller, right? Started 54 straight games at Clemson. 55 straight games was last night's start against Cincinnati. Excellent job sitting in the chair right here against Miles Murphy. Now, against Miles Murphy right here, he's in great shape on a short set, right? But then he lets Murphy get his back pad, and he gets pulled, so he gets a little late leakage. Ball's still completed, all right? Just stay a little firm.
So on that play, Murphy got over top of Miller and then took the inside move, which is where Miller's been struggling in camp. Now, it wasn't necessarily an inside counter move, but he took the inside lane, and Miller was too high. When he says short set, he didn't set complete. I mean, it was just like a quick set until, he got up, to the defender, and then he kind of lost his footing a little bit. This play right now, he is lined up, obviously, at the right tackle spot, and he has two defenders splitting gaps in front of him.
Excellent hand placement right here in a short set. Comes underneath, hands are in the right spot right here, widening the defensive end right here, giving up grounds grudgingly.
Sliding.
You love it. Then you get this right here. Like good power in the run game. Like just gain real estate. Just keep gaining it, right? Resetting his hands and feet. Good push right here. Like, excellent job right there, getting your man off the line of scrimmage.
So that play was Jacob Sailors coming up the right side, which I believe was a 3rd and short that ended up going for a first down. So the offensive line was crashing left. When he says gaining real estate, he was taking whoever he was guarding there. I didn't see the number, but he took him probably 7 yards to the left and opened up just a small area for Sailors to kind of crash through and finish forward for the first down.
Okay, now we get the quick game. So let's watch him down the field right here. We've seen Penei Sewell from the right tackle spot do this a bunch. Gets down the field just fine. Played the entire first half, every snap. All right, no penalty. Lots of one-on-ones. Of course, he sees the hutch every day. So nobody's going to be better than him. All right, pretty good job right here. Moving the hands and the feet, balls
That's
out.
A good wrap right there.
Like, I thought it was
Both
a good
those.
debut for Blake Miller. A lot of football. Played the entire first half.
So, I mean, you really got to watch it. I just reposted it on my original channel, Will Rock Jr. on Twitter. So second to last play there, I mean, he cleared all the way up into the third level, man. He went and wiped out a cornerback for it might have been Sailors. I didn't see the number. And then the last play there, I mean, good work. I'd probably give him a C+ based on what I've seen so far, which is not terrible for a rookie in their first preseason game. I think he's going to be fine, but the high pads is what worries me. We'll see what, how that gets better over time. All right, let's go to Ahmed's video real quick. Actually, while I'm getting Ahmed up, let's listen to Brooke's takeaways. So Brooke Chesney, the Lions' new sideline reporter.
First preseason game is in the books. There's plenty to take away from it. Here's the top 3 things we learned. The Lions' second-team defense got after the Bengals' ones on offense. Ahmed Hassanin had himself a day, sacking Burrow for a loss of 9, and then in the third quarter, recorded another sack and forced a fumble. Eric O'Neal also got pressure on Burrow on the Bengals' second drive. Luke Altmaier and Blake Miller made their NFL debuts. Altmaier was able to finish out the day on a high note with a touchdown pass to Tariq Black. Miller held his own against this Bengals defense. The offensive line only gave up 2 sacks. Miller credited the reps he's been getting against Aiden Hutchinson in camp in preparing him for this moment. And Jacob Sailors proved he can be a pass-catching threat. The second-year running back led the way on the ground and recorded 3 receptions for 28 yards. We did not see Jabari Small, who has been competing with him all camp. We will see who will carry the load next week when the Lions host the Commanders for the second preseason game.
Thanks, Brooke. Appreciate it.
Kind of odd that we didn't see Jabari Small because we've been hearing that he was really good in camp. So what was up last night? Minor injury or what?
I don't think it was an injury, man. I think it was just they're trying to do what they can do. Let's take a listen to Ahmed Hassanin's post-game interview. It sounds like the audio is going to be terrible.
I know I can do this, and I want to prove it. I want to prove it to everybody, and I want to have the opportunity to provide for my family. It's just, there's no better feeling than playing for this team because, man, this team means so much to me. I mean, I love the Detroit Lions, man. I love Coach Campbell. I even told him I love him before the game, and he said, I love you, and it was amazing, man, just to have that kind of relationship, and, it's not just a job, but I'm having so much fun doing it as well, and there's so much joy with this team, and man, I'm happy to play with the teammates that I have. I know I can do this, and I want to prove.
I mean, that's just more of Ahmed, bro. He's so I don't want to say overly, but he's very emotional. He's an emotional person, and I think that's where Dan Campbell says, it's pretty hard to get a guy to do more, but trying to get Ahmed to do less might be the bigger challenge. Because he just goes all out all the time, man. But yeah, he's an emotional character, and I think emotions are important in football because if you don't play with emotion, I mean, what are you playing for? Yeah, got to enjoy it, got to love it.
I like the fact that he's growing a beard. That's pretty awesome.
He had it last year, didn't he?
I don't think so. If it did, it was really short. Now it's he's got a little length to it. I like it.
Well, maybe he'll be the next ZZA.
Yeah, he's got to let it go, man. Got to let it go.
The ZZA, the next ZZ Top. All right, let's continue on down with the day. What else do I have on my list here? Got plenty. I do want to go through the full breakdown.
Well, I can give you my winners and losers from last night if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, go for it. I already did mine, so go for it.
Yeah, so mine were, of course, Ahmed Hassanin. I mean, he dominated with 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and including one against Joey Burrow. And then he had the nice strip sack and solidified his case for a roster spot. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to make this roster this year. And then you have Jacob Sailors. Coach talked about him just a few minutes ago, saying, that 4th running back spot is up for grabs. And that just tells me that the Lions are going to run with 4 running backs this year. And that 4th guy is going to have to be a demon on special teams. And that's why they gave Jacob Sailors such a big look last night. Number 3, I have Keith Abney. He put on a show last night for being a rookie. 5 tackles and a fumble recovery. And then we have 2 on my stock down, the guys that are falling right now. And these are 2 guys that I thought were doing really well in camp and were going to impress last night, but they did not. And it's Miles Frazier is number 1. He struggled with protection and he had some lapses last night, and he was flagged 3 times for holding in the first half. And that's Miles Frazier. And then his running mate, Christian Mahogany, he missed assignments and he had holding penalties, and he might have hurt his grip on the starting left guard spot last night, depending on how some of these other guys do in the games and practices that are coming up. So Christian Mahogany needs to get it together, as well as Miles Frazier. Those were probably my 2 biggest losers from last night. Got to clean up the penalties for sure. What did we have? The penalties were nuts last night.
Yeah, did you see the final count?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Team stats. We're going to look at penalties. So the Lions had 9 penalties for 84 yards. The Bengals had 10 for 83. That's no excuse. I don't care how many penalties the other team is getting. Your team needs to not have penalties. And you got to keep them at a minimum. 9 for 84 yards, that's way too many. 3 turnovers, that's way too many. A lost fumble and 2 interceptions, that's way too many. That is not a good game by the Detroit Lions offense, and that's the reason we lost, as well as the time of possession. I mean, they led us in over 8 minutes in time of possession. So, time of possession, penalties, and turnovers, clean those things up. That's a winning recipe right there for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'd say so, man. I'd agree. I would definitely agree. Couple of things. So let me pop this in the chat. So Scouting the Max says, unfortunately, I think Tesla is a one-trick pony. 50-50 ball wide receiver. Big gamble on him. My response to that would be this simple. I think it's way too early to say that on Tesla, because for a guy that had 6 TDs and 16 catches, 239 yards, 14.9 yards per catch, and he was the 5th, 6th wide receiver, fifth receiver last year. Even coming in as the 3rd receiver this year, I would say that, and again, without me doing any analysis, but now I'm going to. I just wrote it down. I'm going to do some Tesla analysis today. I would say that if he were to have 500 yards and 8 TDs on 40 balls, even 35 balls, that's a great year for a 3rd or 4th wide receiver on this depth chart, where you have legit 3 guys in front of you that all should have 1,000 to 1,500 yards each at their respective position. Jahmyr Gibbs could easily put up 750 through the air and 1,500 on the ground. St. Brown could put up 1,500 on the, through the air. J-Mo could put up 1,500 through the air. Realistically, I think that both St. Brown and J-Mo are probably in that 1,100 to 1,350-ish range this year. But if you look at the history of most 3rd receivers, even 4th receivers, they aren't doing that, right? They're not, unless you've got major injuries, they're barely getting 500 yards a year. And if you even go back and look at some of our best 3rd receivers, let's take a look at DJ Chark real quick. DJ Chark's stats. So it's a great statement you made, because it's going to give me an opportunity to really break it down. And maybe I won't change your mind. Maybe I will. We'll see what the analysis says. And that's what it's all about, because it's not me trying to steer it in one direction. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flush it all out and kind of see where it stacks up. DJ Chark had 11 games played in 2022 for the Detroit Lions. He had 30 balls on 52 targets, 502 yards, 16.7 per, and only 3 TDs. If Isaac Tesla were to do that, is that a gamble in this offense? I don't think so. How about Josh Reynolds? I mean, that's the kind of players that we're stacking Tesla up against is those 2 players, ex-receivers on this team, and the 3rd receivers on this team. Josh Reynolds in 2022, he had 38 balls, 479 yards, 12.6 per, 3 TDs. Very, very similar to DJ Chark. 2023, Josh Reynolds had 40 balls, 608 yards, 15.2 per, and only 5 TDs. So far, Isaac TeSlaa has scored more TDs than Josh Reynolds or DJ Chark in any given season in his first season in Detroit. So I think that we have to look at the totality of what a third-round pick is, what a third or fourth receiver is, and then you have to somehow weight that against this offensive depth chart, which is insanity. Again, I'll repeat myself. Jamison Williams, 1,000-yard guy. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1,000-yard guy. Even Jahmyr Gibbs, 77 balls, 616 yards last year. Those numbers can go way up, at least yardage-wise. Morton was putting him in all that short stuff. You start releasing, Gibbs downhill a little bit, or downfield a little bit, excuse me. Those numbers could easily add 150, 200 yards and a couple more scores. Just a quick look at last year's third round. Kyle Williams was selected by the New England Patriots last season. Third round, pick 69 overall. And TeSlaa was drafted just one pick later at 70th. Do I have that right? I think I have that right. Mm-hmm. He was drafted at 70th, right? Pretty sure. But anyway, Kyle Williams, 10 receptions last year, 209 yards, 3 TDs. TeSlaa beat him. Mm-hmm. Let's go to who else was drafted that year in the third round? Wide receivers. Pat Bryant, Illinois, went to the Broncos. I liked Pat Bryant. I was thinking the Lions were going to get Pat Bryant last year. I don't even know how he played. We're going to find out, though. Hey, not a bad year. 31 receptions, 378 yards, 1 TD. TeSlaa beat him. All right, how about Jalen Knoll? That was a receiver we all loved. Now he's not a X receiver. He's more of a slot receiver at 5'10", 194 pounds.
That was the Iowa kid, right?
Iowa State, yeah. Yeah, we both really liked him.
Yep. He did pretty good.
I don't even know. About to find out.
Last year.
Can't remember. 26 receptions, 292 yards, 2 TDs. TeSlaa beat him too. Mm-hmm. Who else was in the third round? Savion Williams, Green Bay. Now, he is an X receiver. 6'4", 222 pounds. So this is a good comparison. Same round, obviously, 17 picks later or whatever. Only 10 receptions, 78 yards, and 1 TD. Mm-hmm. So again, look, I'm not calling you out or anything, but yeah. what I'm saying is I think that we need to settle down a little bit and stop boxing these guys in. And I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad information out there. Not saying you receive bad information, but there's a lot of bad information out there. You get these hot take mic artists that think that they know sports, that think that they know how players are supposed to grow and develop, and probably haven't even played the sport. You know what I mean? Have never really even watched any film. They just somehow landed at a desk with a mic, at $15 an hour to do content, and they put out a bunch of filth. They don't give you anything real. They regurgitate stuff, or they listen to some unprofessional beat reporter.
So I got a little something here, Will.
Well, hold on here. So I want to go back to the second round real quick. I'm just curious. This is gonna be in the the analysis that I get done today, assuming I can get it done. I know I got a doctor appointment today too, but Jaden Higgins, he was another one that we really loved last year, but he went in the second round at pick 34 overall. So almost a first round pick. 41 receptions, 525 yards, 6 TDs. So he had a lot more balls thrown his way, matched TeSlaa in TDs, and he was taken 36 spots ahead of Isaac TeSlaa. And so there you've got both sides, of this whole coin. Luther Burden, the third. Now we know that he's we know that he's a pretty damn good receiver. At least he was last year. Let's take a look at his stats real quick, and then this will be the last one that I go over. I think I've covered enough. 47 balls, 652 yards, 2 TDs. And he was also a primary last year. Was it Roma Dunze down for the majority of the season?
Yep.
So he had a lot of opportunity in a room, that we just don't have. We don't have a room with opportunity. We have a room that is full of all pro studs. And it's going to be really tough for him to break out when there's just not enough ball to go around. But anyway, go ahead now. What are you going to add?
All right, so I got 3 things. Number 1, John Desage says the difference between Tesla and these guys you're naming is we gave up picks for Tesla.
Okay,
what
let me
have to do with the price of tea in China. That has nothing to do with the players themselves.
Right, so let me answer that. The Lions gave up 2 free picks that they got from Aaron Glenn.
Comp
picks that were worth nothing. And if you look at the value of those picks, and if you look at the number of those picks, one was actually a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Because it was the comp pick itself, and where it was way at the end of the 3rd round. I think it was the last pick of the 3rd round, which made it technically a 4th round pick. It is a 3rd round pick on the face value because it was selected in the 3rd round, but it wasn't a 3rd round pick because the 3rd round pick ends at pick 96.
And they added extra picks in because of the comp picks for the 3rd round. So it was technically a 4th round pick.
Yeah, well, it absolutely was a 4th round pick because of the number.
Even though it was called a 3rd round pick.
Right, that's what I was just saying. So the thing here's the trade. The Lions gave up a 2025 3rd round pick, number 70 overall. I'm sorry, the 2025 3rd round pick, number 70 overall, was used to draft Isaac Tesla. That's what they got in return. They also got in return a 6th round pick, number 182 overall, last year. And then they also got a 6th round pick in this year's draft. So we got 2 6 and a 3rd. And what we gave up was number 102 overall. And 2 3rd round picks. Where's the rest of the info here? Hold on. Hold the phone. So this is the biggest thing that I think a lot of people miss. The Lions moved up 32 spots. Y'all know what the number 32 represents, right? An entire round. So the Lions moved up an entire round. That's like going from pick 33 to number 1 overall. That's like going from pick 65 to number 33 overall. You get what I'm saying? They went up a whole round with this trade. So there's a lot of value there. Number 1. Number 2, the picks that they gave up ended up being the number 102 pick last year, and then the 2 3rd rounders in 2026. And we sent it to the Jaguars. Hold on.
Man, I got you worked up, didn't I?
No. I just once I get on something, man, I got to finish it. So,
and I got a little more for perspective when you're done.
Yeah, I just got to get this number. So while I'm looking this up, the thing that we have to also understand with this trade is a future pick, whether it's a comp pick or not, a future pick is worth about 30% less. So if you're trading in 2026, let's just say if you're trading in 2027's draft and you're trading a future 2028 pick, it is worth at least 30% less because it's a future pick. So what does that equate to? Well, if you're trading, let's say, pick 96, that pick is really going to be valued at about 125. And then you're adding the fact that it's a comp pick, and the comp pick is after the end of the round. So at pick 64, you then go into comp picks, which starts at pick 65. So pick 65 to, whatever. I don't even know what the number goes up to anymore. But let's just say it goes from 65 to 78. Well, those picks are technically third round picks. They're not second round picks. I know there's no picks in the second round, but you get what I'm saying. They're the next round. But those picks, comp picks, are worth 50% less than your normal draft pick. So I did all these numbers like a few days after this trade. The Lions received pick 70, 182, and a 2026 sixth round pick. The Jaguars received pick 102, a 2025 third rounder, a 2026 third round pick, and a 2026 third round pick that were both comp picks. So you can take 50% off of the value for both of those picks. And so what did the Lions give up? Not much. If anything, they actually finished out ahead on the trade. So I'll do all this in the analysis. I'm not going to waste any time doing it this morning. I've looked 6 different ways, and no matter what I type in, it's not telling me what the value was for the Jaguars picks this year, and I just don't remember. But I do remember doing all of this analysis last season, and I'm telling you that Brad made a hell of a trade. That trade has definitely worked out so far. So what were you going to add?
All right. So in 2024, the Detroit Lions were 17 minutes away from going to the friggin' Super Bowl, right? And then they lost to the San Francisco 49ers on a bunch of unforced, unbelievable errors. Well, let's talk about their wide receivers we had back in 2024. Our number 3 wide receiver was none other than Tim Patrick, who we traded for, right? You guys are talking about trades? We traded for Tim Patrick. 16 games, 33 receptions, 394 yards, 3 touchdowns. Who else do we have on that team? Khalif Raymond, 17 receptions, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Allen Robinson, 3 receptions, 30 yards, 0 touchdowns. And then even if you put Sam Laporta in there, he had 60 receptions for 726 yards and 7 touchdowns. That's a Pro Bowler. Okay. Sam Laporta, I'm pretty sure went to the Pro Bowl the season before. So
2023.
Listen, yeah, in 2023. So listen, you cannot put all of this on this Isaac Tesla kid. And then John Desage put it in the chat. He kind of stole my thunder. I really wanted to say this. This was my number 1 point. The Green Bay Packers took wide receiver Tim Patrick in the very first round of the 2025
Matthew Golden
draft. Matthew Golden. He had 29 catches on 44 targets for 361 yards and 0 touchdowns in the regular season. He did not get a touchdown until the playoff game versus the Bears. In his 3rd game against the Bears. That's how long it took for Matthew Golden to get 1 touchdown. So do you want touchdowns from a player, or do you want yardage and stats?
I'm taking efficiency all day, brother. I'm taking touchdowns.
Points. I don't care how we get them. I want more points than the other team. That's all I care about.
It's like, remember when Jamal Williams scored like what, 21 touchdowns in that year, and a lot of people were giving him a bunch of shit saying, well, dude, he's not any good. He was just running from the 1 yard line. And then I went and looked at all the stats, and his average touchdown was like 9 yards. His average touchdown was like a 9-yard run. He had some from 50. He had some from 35. I mean, they're all over the place. And then he had a chunk, in and around the goal line. But does it matter? Because he put up 120 points on the board. That's what matters. He scored. So if Isaac Tesla gets 300 yards and 20 touchdowns, I'm not complaining because all I need the guy to do is score and help us win football games. I don't care about the yards. Matter of fact, Isaac Tesla probably doesn't even care about the yards and catches. Just like Jamison Williams. He doesn't care about the catch number. He just wants the yards and the scores. You've heard him say it before.
There's another one right there. You just said it. How did J-Mo do in his first year?
Not good.
Yeah.
That was only a few games, right?
One touchdown. Yeah. Well, how did he do in his second year? You know, his second year was nothing to write home about.
Got to remember the third season for any draft pick. I don't care where you're drafted, but it's that third season that matters the most. That is when you should see who that player really is going to be. Tesla's going to have a huge jump up this year. I don't care about one preseason game. If we are evaluating players after one preseason game, then I'm sorry. I would really call into question the ability to evaluate players because nobody, not one analyst, is looking at these players yesterday and saying, man, that was a terrible pick. None of them. They're saying, hey, he's got some growing pains. He's young. Talk about any player. He's got a ways to go. But let's look at what he did right. Let's go in and see how he blocked on this play. Was he in the right position? Was there a penalty not called? Was it a lack of concentration? Yeah. Was it wet outside? Yeah. Was it, a different quarterback? Yes. He wasn't working with Luke Altmaier a whole lot. Yeah, they ran some second team reps together, but now you're talking about a guy that's running the entire offense for a few days, trying to get ready for a preseason game. They just don't have that connection. And I think that we've established this now. Quarterbacks have to have a connection with their players. I mean, you can be like Caleb Williams and run around like a chicken with your head cut off and just lob the ball up and hope that somebody catches it, and it's usually the other team, and then have a 54% completion percentage. That's not going to help you this year. I promise you it's not. Matter of fact, I've even heard some Bears fans and Bears analysts that run Bears channels at the, like the NFL level, say that, look, if Caleb does the shit that he did last year, they're going to lose a lot of games because it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable play. So, look, Isaac Tesla is going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely fine. But again, if we're expecting 1,000 yards and 10 TDs and 80 catches from Isaac Tesla, then I don't think people understand what his role is on this team. Because you're not taking away food from Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're not taking away dessert from Jahmyr Gibbs. You're not taking away appetizers away, from anyone else on this team. And Jamison Williams, I mean, look, there's too many mouths to feed. They all have to play in a complementary role. And that is what Isaac Tesla is going to do this year. And maybe that complementary role is 10 TDs and 30 catches and 400 yards. And that is just fine. It's totally fine. If you're expecting anything more than that, then I would say that we probably need to go trade Jamison Williams if you're expecting him to be a 1,000+ yard receiver, because you just can't have that many on one team. I don't know where it is that for whatever reason, our fan base thinks that every edge is supposed to have 15 sacks. Every edge is supposed to make $50 million. Every receiver is supposed to have 1,000 yards and 10 TDs or more and be a fantasy monster. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm also going to put a lot of blame on what content is out there too, because I think that's where people get a lot of bad info, bad expectations, if you will, about the player. All right, up next, let's get into the rest of the breakdown. I'm going to run through, the players, which I was supposed to do at the very beginning of the show, but we've been off and running on different areas. Mm-hmm. So be right back. Quick reset, and we're going to do it. We're going to finish the show. We're going to land this plane today.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights, with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs, with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight. What a play by Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell. Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet, doesn't get any. And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up. That is textbook linebacker play. What the I'm talking about?
All right. We're going to run through it again real quick. So last night again, want to thank everybody for joining the live stream. Over 13,000 views, over 100 new subscribers, and y'all made the evening fun, even though kind of had to throw the graphics together the last second. We'll make sure it's fixed for the next one and for the rest of the season. Yesterday was a very interesting day for the Lions. I think the resiliency, Eric, like we didn't even really touch on the coaching staff, but the resiliency for having to be placed into a situation where you lose your second quarterback in 1 week. You have 18, 19 injuries now that through camp and several have returned. And so you're going into a game, and I think that's another thing that we haven't really touched on is you're going into a game where you don't have Rolder, you don't have Moore, you don't have Kendrick Law. I mean, you don't have a lot of the players that you were hoping to see in this first preseason game. Even though Kendrick Law's been out for a while, I think Derek Moore adds another element to this. And because Derek Moore is out, Ahmed Hassanin explodes. And because, Jimmy Rolder suffered a hamstring injury, Devin White's getting some, a lot more action, and he's going to be a starter on this team. So I just think that, I always say it, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Maybe not every time, but what Ahmed Hassanin did last night, he took full advantage of every opportunity to say, I'm not going away. You can't force me away. I'm going to force my way into the backfield. And so the resiliency by this coaching staff to have everybody ready to get to get Josh Dobbs up to speed as quickly as possible to at least be able to run, partial quarter. I think it's pretty important that the coaching staff gets the old pat on the back for last night and being able to string together, a pretty decent game to get some good looks at their team for this year. And yeah, it was ugly. Well, like I said last night, man, I wouldn't have had it any other way because it was good to see our team back out there doing some things. We'll just start with the offense. Luke Altmaier again, 13 of 22, 130 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, 53.2 rating. Ran the ball 4 times for just a yard and 1 successful 2-point conversion. Look, the numbers last night look worse than the actual performance. And we've already spoken about that a lot. Josh Dobbs, again, 4 of 8, 32, 60.4 rating. Dobbs has been in Drew Petzing's offense before, only a few days this time. And so this wasn't a normal quarterback evaluation or situation to be in. I expect Josh Dobbs in this next preseason game to play half the game and to have a bigger impact on the game because you could see it right away that his demeanor, his intelligence, the veteran leadership that he has and the qualities that he has and possesses, it showed up right away with him being able to make a few plays. Running backs last night. We were hoping to see Jabari Small. We didn't, but Jacob Saylors had a pretty damn good night last night. Now, he came out of the game with that ankle injury. I didn't see him return. I don't remember if you said he returned or not. I don't think he did. But he had 8 carries, 55 yards, 6.9 yards per carry, a long run of 27. Also hauled in 3 passes for 28 yards on 5 targets, 83 yards total from scrimmage last night for Jacob Saylors. So he entered last night's game with a legit competition with Jabari Small for the back end of this running back job. And did he help himself? Big time. Did he put himself now in competition with Sione Vaki? Yes. Do I think he's going to overtake Sione Vaki? Not right now. We have to see what's going to happen with Vaki. As I mentioned last night during the live stream, I do see an opportunity here where they could put Vaki on a list and stash him while he's coming back from the broken nose, because he's not going to be able to play, while that nose is healing. I have no idea how long it takes for a broken nose to heal, but you could imagine the helmet, maybe touching the bridge of your nose right here and how painful that would be. So there's a possibility here that Vaki doesn't make it up before the preseason is out. He left Cincinnati with the early lead, right? His 27-yard run showed the burst, but his receiving work showed that he isn't limited to early downs. He also carried a 15-yard run that was erased by a Christian Mahogany holding penalty. He could have easily had over 100 yards last night, and a lot of that was negated by stupidity and bad penalties at the wrong time. With 7 seconds remaining in this first half, Sailors gained 9 yards and gave Jake Bates just enough room to knock a 52-yard field goal through the uprights. Campbell had described Sailors in small before the game as essentially trading good days throughout camp, kind of trading blows throughout camp, but he capitalized. And my main takeaway from last night is this wasn't empty preseason production. He was going up against a legit defense for the first quarter. For somebody whose roster security is also tied to special teams, he showed last night that he gives Petzing usable options when called upon, both special teams and in the offense. Raheem Blackshear, the guy that you didn't know last night until he started toting the rock, which is a good thing, right? 5 carries, 33 yards, 6.6, long of 24. Had 3 kickoff returns last night for 78 yards, 26-yard average. That's not bad in the return game. He didn't get a lot of volume behind the line of scrimmage. He didn't need much either. His biggest offensive snap came on 3rd and 5 when he hit the right side for 24 yards, converting the third down and producing one of the offense's few explosive runs of the night. And look, I thought it mattered a lot for his, ability to show us what he has very early. He's only been with the team for less than a week, and he was picked up right when Vaki went down. So those 3 kick returns last night, very respectable return average of 26 yards. And so his job is hitched to special teams too, if he's going to be able to make this team. Biggest takeaway on Blackshear last night, I think he showed exactly why, or what a fringe running back needs to show. Versatility, explosive, potential off the edge there. And Sailors had the better overall night, but Blackshear gave Dan and the rest of this team probably another hard look at not just him, but also Sailors and Small, and really evaluating this room again going into next week. Kai Robichaud, 8 carries last night, 31 yards. Dan Campbell mentioned that he's been just steady, since he's been with the Lions. He's just been really consistent. And maybe it's not enough, but Kai Robichaud, 1 kickoff return last night for 26 yards. Seems to be the theme of the night, 26 yards. Robichaud box score just doesn't jump out. I mean, he didn't have a ton of production, but I think his best football came in the fourth quarter on that touchdown drive with Luke Altmaier. He went 4 yards, 13 yards, and 6 yards. So 3 snaps, 26 yards. That's moving the ball. That's moving the chains. It's exactly what you're expecting a 4th, 5th option to do in the running back game. My biggest takeaway on him last night, quiet start, strong finish for Robichaud last night. That's it for the running backs. We'll go into the receivers next. Anything you want to add to the running backs?
So running backs, I got a little bit of news about Sione Vaki. So Pride of Detroit wrote that it was great news to see Sione Vaki back at practice last week, out there doing work with the trainer with a helmet on.
Yep.
He was sporting a visor to protect his face, and his eye was still bloodshot. It's hard to know when the Lions would be comfortable putting him out there with such a unique injury, but the fact that he's putting on a helmet is certainly a good sign. So
yeah, that was a big development last week. Working with the trainers, my only concern is taking shots. It's one thing to wear a helmet; it's another thing to take a shot. Yeah. And we see the helmets move all the time, and I guess I would just be worried that it's going to hit the bridge of his nose again. This area right here, like that's so painful. It's so painful.
And that might just be a pain tolerance thing as well.
He's tough as shit, man. I mean, he's clearly shown his worth many times. It's starting to get warm out here. It's so muggy down here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the receiver room last night.
Nice in the UP.
Yeah, your favorite receiver of the night, Isaac Tesla. 3 targets, 0 yards, 0 catches, 0 everything. Other than drops. A couple of drops on the night. Probably the offensive performance that needs the quickest rebound. Dan Campbell's not worried, though. Dan Campbell said he's just going to go right back to work. As he said in the postgame press conference, it's not that he needs to say something. He may or may not say something, but he already knows what to expect from Isaac TeSlaa. It's going to be head down and just start grinding next week when they get back into Allen Park. Actually, I think on Saturday. Altmaier gave TeSlaa an opportunity, and the ball just deflected, and so he had a turnover on downs on one of the first attempts of the game to TeSlaa, and that didn't start his night out right. But that really stood out because TeSlaa in camp has had a larger role, and he's had a larger role even waiting for him. It's kind of been up for the grabs, but he's got some really good receivers behind him. Look, I'm not saying that I'm worried about TeSlaa because you just heard me. I'm not. He scored 6 TDs on 16 receptions as a rookie. It's maybe not the production that everybody's looking for, but it's production that is valuable to this team. It's production that this team desperately needs in and around the red zone, which is where you expect TeSlaa to be utilized the most. If we understand the Lions' offense, there's just not going to be 3 receivers on the field a ton this season and compared to previous seasons when you start to use the multiple tight end sets a little bit more. And you're starting to kick Jahmyr Gibbs out into the slot, which they've talked about plenty. So the third receiver is actually going to be a running back very often. Now, my biggest takeaway, look, his roster spot isn't the issue. His roster spot's not even in question. The only issue that there is right now is that it's early in camp, and he just had a bad night. Dominic Lovett, I was hoping to see a lot more from. 3 receptions, 28 yards, 8 targets. That is not a good catch-to-target ratio. 1 kick return for 27 yards. 2 punt returns for 13 yards. His receiving production didn't really tell the full story. He did catch a 15-yard ball from Dobbs that was later made an 11-yard third down conversion during Altmaier's final touchdown drive. Now, those are positive snaps for Lovett, obviously fighting in what is a loaded room. And then came the special teams mistake. Lovett muffed a punt in the third quarter. He recovered it himself, but Thomas Harper was also penalized on the return, and the offense ended up getting just buried at the goal line and ended up turning the ball over. My takeaway for Lovett, look, good offensive tape at times last night. The bad return game tape is going to show up with Dave Phipp, and he's not going to be happy. Lovett showed that, he can uncover a little bit more and that he can move the chains. But getting uncovered, I think, last night, getting separation was an issue for him at times. And I think, this whole offseason, Scotty has been really working with these guys. I mentioned it last night. He talked about the A's, the B's, and the C's. He wants the guys catching the ball out in front, which is an A catch. The B is a little bit closer to the body, and the C is obviously at the chest. You don't have any time to react or change. Lovett needs either to get separation, or he's got to be able to get that ball out in front to stay away from the DBs knocking the ball away. Tariq Black. So there was a statement in the chat. Someone wondered why I was not high on Tariq Black last night. And quite honestly, it's not that I'm not high on the guy. I just wasn't as impressed maybe as Dan Campbell was. And the reason why is that Black had 2 plays that basically told the whole night. The first one came on what looked like a 35-yard completion. Beautiful ball by Luke Altmaier, very well placed. Ball was traveling over and out to the sideline where nobody else could really get it but Black, and then he pushed off. And so even though I thought it was ticky-tacky and I thought it was a terrible call, it was a call nonetheless. He didn't need to do that. He had the size, he had the range, and quite honestly, he already had about a yard of separation at the time. It was a pointless move. And because of that, it erased a big gain for the Lions. So that's the only reason why his stock went down for me. Now, it can immediately go back up. Look, I think that the response that he had later in the game was perfect. When Altmaier targeted him late in that final drive for a 24-yard touchdown, I mean, that kind of evened the playing field a little bit for Black's night. But again, it was 2 passes that told the story. 1 mistake and 1 good play. Next time we got to see good plays. So a solid response, but I'm looking for more out of Black, who's fighting to overtake a position at either the 6th or the 5th receiver spot, and he has a long way to go. Jackson Meeks, a little underwhelming last night. Only one target, one reception, 17 yards. I wanted to see more. I was hoping that we were going to see a lot more out of Meeks. Now, I didn't predict that during the pregame portion of yesterday. I didn't think he was going to be as utilized, but I thought that he would get at least another couple of opportunities, and they just didn't get on the ball. So the one reception for 17 yards does matter quite a bit because it does show that he can be explosive. And that's where the receiving opportunities showed up for Jackson Meeks. Before I get into the offensive line, is there anything you want to add to the receivers?
Not too much. I was under the understanding that Meeks was going as a tight end, not as a wide receiver, though.
He was.
Yeah. And then Cedric Wilson with one catch for 23 yards. Apparently, he's been tearing it up in practice. So I don't know how many plays he was out there for, how many times he got open, but he had one target, one catch for 23 yards. So,
I'm sorry, who was that?
And that was Cedric Wilson Jr.
Yeah.
The kid we got from Dallas there. I think he's had a pretty good camp so far by all accounts. So it was nice seeing him get at least one catch. And TK85, he had a really nice catch that was called back on a penalty. So he ended up with one catch for 5 yards last night.
Cedric Wilson, I'm looking for more out of him too. He has been having a good camp, and Dan Campbell, I think above all else, when you go into these games, you're looking to trust, and that's what it's all about for this coaching staff is trust. If they can trust you, they can find a spot for you on this roster, and that's what they're building towards. And so, Black lost a little bit of trust on the one play, but then gained it right back. Isaac Tesla lost a lot of trust last night, but in the grand scheme of things, like Dan Campbell's not worried about it. So, if it continues to be a problem, if it continues to show up week after week, then we have a problem. I just don't think we have a problem right now. Offensive line. Just trying to get up this GIS here. Jeez. All right, I'll come back to that. Offensive line last night. Blake Miller, 33 offensive snaps last night, all in the first half. For the first round rookie, man, his first NFL debut going up against somebody not named Aiden, not named Tyler Lacey. He had one goal, I think, last night. Just don't become the story of the night, right? Don't be the guy. Don't get that welcome to the NFL moment. This is going to be plastered everywhere on Twitter tomorrow. And he didn't. Look, he wasn't fully clean last night, but that revamped defensive line threw enough at him. I think that Miller handled the speed and the physicality without much of a problem. There were some problems with the pad level. There was a problem with some of his sets. But again, it's rookie mistakes, it's rookie development, and it's not a big deal. Dan Campbell says, quote, I didn't feel like we had any issues on the perimeter. So Larry Borum last night. I mean, Larry Borum really played well on the left side. And this is a player that a lot of fans, a lot of analysts, a lot of pundits, beat reporters, local, you name it, did not trust Larry Borum. They did not understand why Larry Borum was in town. They would go to PFF and they say, oh, but look at this stat. Larry Borum played extremely well last night. Now, could it always be better? Absolutely. But Borum has been asked to play right and left, and he did it at a high level last night. So really, really impressed for Larry Borum and not concerned about Larry Borum going forward. I think that was a great pickup. And once again, Brad Holmes is finding a way to tell people to put a sock in it because he's really doing a great job at finding the right guys to fit this team. Christian Mahogany was a bit of a letdown last night. Just too many penalties, two in all, but too many penalties. Ineligible receiver downfield cost us 5. Holding cost us another 10. But his physical blocking wasn't the issue last night. Like, he's a very physical blocker. It's just the flags. Bad timing. The first penalty erased an 8-yard Sailors reception, which I don't know that I agree. It was a kind of a pretty weak penalty. The second was considerably more damaging, where Sailors broke another 15-yard run that got us all the way up to the 18 of Cincinnati, and then the holding brought it all the way back. Look, I think that means that there's two things happening here. One, Mahogany can do the job. Two, I think last night the mental mistakes just kind of overtook his game, and we'll see that dissipate hopefully by next week. And we also have to remember, he wasn't next to Penei Sewell, and he wasn't next to Cade Mays. Everything was different last night, so they're learning each other. Miles Frazier was another disappointment for as good as he's been in camp. I mean, he's been crazy good in camp. The penalties, 3 holding calls last night, can't have it. You just can't. Your offense is not going to score points. Your offense isn't going to be able to move down the field. And quite honestly, the players are going to get pissed at some point when all of their hard work gets called back because you just can't figure out where to put your hands. I think that was probably the roughest individual night of the offensive line last night was Miles Frazier. Seth McLaughlin started at center with Cade Mays and Juice Scruggs unavailable, and he worked with the first team offensive group and handled most of the early operation pretty clean. There was a couple of bad snaps throughout the night. I can't remember if that was Neese or McLaughlin. It might have been Neese. And Tim Twentyman credited McLaughlin with allowing 1 sack on the night. Hey, we'll take that on the first preseason game. So not a disastrous night. And Seth, hey, he locked in, and I think he did a good job. That still has a long way to go. Michael Neese, again, 2 aborted quarterback center exchanges. This is where balls on the ground last night caused problems. I think both of them came in the second half of the game last night, but he's got to figure out a way to get the ball up. We're running up against the clock for you. What is your final of the day?
Well, my final of the day is just remember it's preseason. People are going to have good games. People are going to have bad games. So don't overreact either way. You know, Jacob Sailors is not a Pro Bowler because of last night, and Isaac Tesla is not a hunk of junk because of last night. So just remember to be even keeled about it. It was just a glorified practice. Let's see what they do on Saturday, and I will see you guys next week.
All right, brother. Have a good night, man. Have a good weekend.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight. What a play by Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell. Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that. And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up. That is textbook linebacker play. What the I'm talking about?
The rest of the offensive line. Actually, I think I was done with the offensive line. I guess my biggest takeaway on the offensive line last night would have been, the preseason problems that the offensive line faced. It was expected. They've kind of been thrown into an immediate issue where Cade Mays' injury created opportunity. And it's that opportunity that these guys have to take head on and learn to finish, but there's going to be mistakes early. Defense. Oh shit, I didn't get Eric's game ball. I'm just going to assume that Eric put it in the chat if you hear it. I assumed that he was going to put Ahmed Hassanin as the game ball of the day or game ball of the night. And that's exactly where my game ball is going. So Ahmed Hassanin last night, the big end, had a big night in a big way, really showed up for the Lions. And you know what? He showed up for himself. 4 total tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble on the night. Hassanin was easily identifiable as the best player on the field. Without a doubt. Easily the best player on the field for the Lions defensively. Hold on. Got all this stuff in my way. There we go. All right. Like I was saying, his first preseason snap came against Joe Burrow. And since Eric did his, you know what? Let me do my Ahmed Hassanin, because I prepared something last night and then earlier this morning. I didn't know that he was going to read something from Reisman, which I'm glad he did. I just didn't get to hear it. So let me find it. Let me get, because this article is going to come out a little bit later. I want to get it out before you guys have to read it. All right, let me do a quick reset here, because I'm gonna get this into a video. One thing that I am changing this year, if you guys haven't figured it out already, I'm really trying to maximize my time with content. It's something that I haven't been able to do for the last few years, or last 2 years. I mean, I do like 20 hours of live streams a week at least, and I should have 60 videos a week, and I just don't. And so this channel could be massive if I just took advantage of it. So I'm going to try to take advantage of it. So it may sound weird. No, when I'm ending the show or ending a video, when I'm ending a video, I'm not ending the show. I will always let you know when the show ends, so you don't have to dip out if you see an end screen or something like that. I'm just trying to maximize my time, because my time is very limited right now. Very limited. So let's do a quick reset. We'll be right back. And when we do, I'm going to give you the goods on Ahmed Hassanin.
Middle caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap, back looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight. What a play by Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell. Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that. And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up. That is textbook linebacker play. What the I'm talking about?
All right, what's happening, Lions fans? Welcome into Rockdown Detroit Lions here. I want to talk about Ahmed Hassanin last night, man. He absolutely exploded onto the scene, and it was good to finally see. He didn't just have a good preseason game last night. Like I said, the dude exploded very early into this game last night against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. He may have changed. Quite honestly, he may have changed where Dan Campbell and Calvin Shepard have to place him in this defensive line rotation. You can't keep Ahmed Hassanin off the field. His performance last night just helped Ahmed climb up this depth chart, and he's climbing fast. What Ahmed did last night against Cincinnati looked exactly like what he's been doing all camp long in Allen Park. Except this time, Joe Burrow was on the receiving end. He was standing on the other side, where Ahmed Hassanin was trying to find his way to. Hassanin finished with 4 tackles last night, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble, easily getting my game ball of the night for the best defensive player. Here's the part that matters the most. In his first snap of the preseason game against Cincinnati's starting offense, by the way, Joe Burrow had already hit Jamar Chase for a 17-yard pass play, completed down the right side of the field. Ahmed checks into the game, and just like we check in, Ahmed was ready. 1 snap, 1 sack. That's how the story went. On the play, Hassanin makes contact with Dalton Risner, playing right guard, and then loops back behind Joe Bocci with a wraparound stunt. And then Risner switches off Bocci for a brief second, looks to his left, and then realizes, I just let Hassanin go. And it was just enough time for Hassanin to find a crease and keep on working towards the quarterback. He used his speed to get into the backfield, looping back down and in, coming back inside where Burrow goes to the ground. That's Ahmed Hassanin, number one. And then there's Dan Campbell talking about the motor. He's been talking about Ahmed's motor and how it's been showing up in camp. Well, it showed up all night long. In the third quarter, Ahmed Hassanin got his second sack of the night. Not one, but two. Josh Johnson, 40-year-old quarterback, checks into the game and drops back. Ahmed Hassanin bends around the left tackle this time, gets to the quarterback, and chops the football out for what would be a strip sack. Drive stopped. Ahmed Hassanin celebrating 2 sacks and a forced fumble later. 4 tackles. That's production. That's exactly what we were expecting out of Ahmed Hassanin. We've been following this kid ever since he came into the league, and his performance last night matters even more than just the sacks. Ahmed lost his rookie season to a pectoral injury during the preseason last year. He needed to play some meaningful football this season, and more importantly, this preseason, so he could lock himself into the depth chart with a path to the roster and a very deep roster at all positions. This was the start that he needed. But when you go back through his camp work this season, this was also expected. He's been building and stacking days every single week.
Stacking.
Early in padded practices, Ahmed beat Colby Sorsdahl with a double swipe and a swim move. Okay, easy play. It's Colby Sorsdahl. No big deal. But the very next day, he produced pressure that would have been a sack and added a tackle for loss. And then on August 6th, he really started to make some noise in practice. With Tyler Lacey and Makai Wingo getting some limited work, Ahmed earned some opportunities higher in the rotation. This is where he responded. And he responded with 2 tackles for loss and 2 sacks while working with the second group in practice. Ahmed Hassanin has been a very big bright spot for this defense this year. And he wasn't just beating up backup tackles. In one-on-ones, he beat his first-round pick, Blake Miller, around the edge with speed. And he didn't stop there. A few days later, he got Miller again with a double swipe move. So Ahmed Hassanin, the player that a lot of fans felt was a wasted pick, another developmental edge. Well, the difference here is now we're starting to see just who Ahmed is. Another year in the system, and the motor hasn't stopped running. Nobody ever questioned whether this dude was going to play hard. The question was whether he can actually turn all of that energy into controlled NFL pass rush reps. And we're starting to see it. Speed outside, inside counter, you name it. Side swipe, swim, up and over, up and under, stunt work, power, the loops, the games, the mugs, it's all there. And quite honestly, the biggest change this offseason for Ahmed was putting him back in a position to win. Casey Rogers and Calvin Shepard this season, during the offseason, decided to move him back to his old position at the big end. And I say old because that is the closest position to what Ahmed Hassanin played at Boise State. Ahmed's now sitting at 275 pounds or thereabout, and he can take on the dirty work. He can play through the bigger bodies and still get after the quarterback. Matter of fact, we know Ahmed Hassanin loves the dirty work, and he never stops. Campbell basically described him the same way. This last week at training camp, he said Ahmed doesn't ever take a water break. Sometimes he gets a little wild, and sometimes coaches have to pull him back. That is not normal. That's not what you typically hear from coaches, right? You normally hear the other side, that we got to get these guys going. But Campbell's point was pretty simple. He'd much rather have to slow this guy down than to beg him to turn it up. Ahmed entered camp trying to secure a roster spot and find snaps in what has become a very crowded edge room. DJ Wanham was ahead of him. Tyler Lacey has had a strong camp, is ahead of him. Derek Moore, this year's second-round investment, battling injury, was ahead of him. Anthony Lucas, another young developing player, maybe not ahead of him, but a threat. The fight is over who gets snaps around Hutchinson and on what downs. Is it going to be early rundowns or is it going to be later pass rush downs? And right now, Ahmed Hassanin is making the decision harder day by day. Practice production gets your attention, or I should say the coach's attention. But doing it against Joe Burrow, that gets you taken a little bit more seriously. Doing it again later in the game tells me that Burrow's sack wasn't just some lucky preseason moment that I read on Twitter. Look, Ahmed didn't suddenly show up Thursday night. We've been watching him beat tackles in Allen Park for 2 weeks and going on 2 seasons now before his injury. And then Campbell puts him on the field against Cincinnati, and that exact same player shows up. After the game, Dan Campbell said the things that Ahmed had been doing in practice looked like they would translate to game day work, and they absolutely did. And that's how you climb the depth chart in Allen Park. So we're probably past the question of whether he even belongs on this roster. The conversation is changing to how many snaps can Kelvin Shepherd realistically give a guy when the games start to count? Because if Ahmed keeps playing like if he keeps playing like this, then he's going to make that number a lot bigger. Ahmed Hassanin, phenomenal opening preseason game, but remember, it's just preseason. We got to see him follow it up. Let me know what you guys think about Ahmed Hassanin in the comments below. We'll catch you in the next one.
Well, this guy's been
we should be back.
tonight. What a play by Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell. Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that. And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up. That is textbook linebacker play. What the I'm talking about?
All right, so I've got to fix that. I think that I'm back live now, but I've got to fix that. So when I hit the end scene for the screen, it's ending my show. And I think I put an automation on it. So let me know if I'm still live. I don't want to talk to myself for 20 minutes and then find out it ended. I think it did end and then it turned back on is what it did. Let me just double check. It looks like I'm back. So anyway, that was my Ahmed Hassanin take. I was really impressed with him last night. And again, I can't say, like I said in the video, I'm not surprised. I mean, we had Corey on the show for a couple of months, and then he got a job with I think it was Ahmed Hassanin's agency, and there was some things that kind of fell down the pike from what he told me, the Detroit Lions, and some comments and some things that were making it very difficult for Ahmed in the locker room. Just because, Corey's Corey. He's just, puts his heart on his sleeve. But last night, that's all I could think about was how Corey was probably sitting watching that game, just all smiles, ear to ear. I could see it. He worked his ass off with his brother. Corey put a lot of work in to help his brother get to the point to where he is, but nobody put in, as much work as Ahmed did. And to see Ahmed show up last night, I really hope he continues for him. But I'm not lying, man. Like, let's go through the 53. That's what we're going to end with today. We've covered, just about everything, since last night. I'm only on a few hours of sleep, and I got to get to, I have an appointment today with a new endocrinologist to review all my blood work yesterday from the cancer workup. And he's going to say I'm good, and I get to leave, hopefully. No more pokes today. So, let me actually show you this real quick. So this is the NFL GSIS. And this is what I will get during the game. Now, I didn't use it last night because I had a lot going on, but during the game, I will have access to up to the second stats. So the NFL, this is their official tracker. This is what they put together for each and every game. So like when I'm credentialed at a game, I've been credentialed for UFL games and other college games, other semi-pro games. Haven't done the Lions yet, but when you're there, they give you sheets. They'll come up to you and hand you a sheet of the stats, like every quarter, every half, and then you also have it in an app. I don't know if they're doing paper anymore. They might just force everybody to use the app or this login. So I get all the stats immediately. And last night, I don't know why I wasn't using it, because we had questions on whether that was a sack or not. So Ahmed Hassanin, right here at the very tippy top of this page for preseason game number 1, 3 tackles, 1 assist, 4 combined, 2 sacks, 17 yards for sack yards, 2 TFLs, 2 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble. I mean, what a freaking night for the guy. That's a stat line that you want to see in the regular season. Can he do it? I think he can. I absolutely think he can. Yeah, we're in the twilight zone, Sunburst. And Sunburst, I saw you check in earlier, by the way. There you go. I'm checking in today, 6'1", 241 pounds. That's right, I gained a pound. Must have been the pizza I ate last night. I got to break this next level, man. I got to get into the 230s. Almost there. So anyway, I love this look. I mean, it's just a simple plain Jane look of stats. And like, again, there's not like a whole lot of efficiencies or anything in here, but this would at least just make us intelligent until all of the efficiencies come out probably by noon today. And of course you still have PFF, which I'm going to do my best not to use them at all this year. There's some things that I might have to, but for the most part, I really don't want to use PFF. It's telling me to sign up, but I'm already signed in. I cannot. This is exactly why I can't stand it. I'm always signed in. And it always tells, it tells me I'm logged in, but yet it's not showing me anything. So they still don't have any results from yesterday's game. And then NFL Pro doesn't have anything yet either, because they don't do preseason. Okay. Is what it is. One sec. Okay, let's do the 53-man. What changed after week 1? Probably not a whole lot. But let's just go ahead and go through it. If you've checked the post today, either on Twitters or on my Twitters, or even the post of the show, I had AI take my spreadsheet and go ahead and make a depth chart. Every week, I'm going to update the depth chart because I think every week is going to change. So next week, I'll put out a new depth chart every single week before the game. I'll try to remember to put out the depth chart. But once the depth chart is done by week 1, it typically won't change unless we have players coming back or getting healthy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the depth chart. And what's going to change, or what do I think is going to change after this first week? Play along in the chat. Let me know where you think these guys are going to end up. We're going to start in the edge room. We're going to start on defense. All right, let's move this puppy over. Come on, slide with me. There we go. All right, edge room. We have two areas for the edge, left and right. Right now you have Aiden Hutchinson and DJ Wanham. Those are locks. You have Derek Moore and Tyler Lacey. So the interesting thing here is what's going on with Derek Moore. The consensus is that he should be back next week. And if that's the case, my question is, are they going to get him up into the second preseason game? And that part may be doubtful still. So if we don't see Derek Moore next week, how are they going to manage? How are they going to manage this? Is my question. How are they going to manage this when you go into 53 cuts? Because you're definitely not going to cut Derek Moore. Are you going to stash him on IR and put him down for the first 4 weeks? There's always that possibility. But right now, I don't think that we have a whole lot of change. But what I am going to do is Tyler Lacey's a lock. I'm going to lock Derek Moore just because I don't think that they're going to put him on a list just yet. Anthony Lucas didn't do anything last night. He didn't do enough. You know, if we go back and look at his stats from last night, Anthony Lucas had 1 tackle, 2 tackles combined. So 1 solo, 1 assisted, and 1 TFL and 1 quarter. 2 tackles, 1 tackle, 1 assisted, and that's it. That's all he had last night. Eric O'Neill actually had the better night of the two. Now, again, that was a lot later into the game. But Eric O'Neill had 2 combined, but he also pitched in a TFL and a quarterback hit. Skylar Gill-Howard, even though he's not in the edge room, popped out with 2 quarterback hits last night. And then also chased Josh Johnson all the way to the edge of the all the way to the edge of the sideline and took him down. So there was some good play, but here's where I'm putting Ahmed at. Number 5. We're going to leave him right there. We're going to lock him in. And so right now I think the Lions carry 5 edge going into the season, and I think that number could creep up to 6. But after week 1, the guys that I have out... Oops, different color. The guys that I have out are right here. And they're out for right now. So I think we're rolling with 5. Now that could change week to week. Let's talk about defensive tackle for a moment. Aleem McNeil, lock. Those are for sure. Did Levi Onwuzurike even play last night? I don't think he did. Most positive he didn't. So I'm going to put him in as a lock because he wasn't injured. So there's a reason why he didn't play. That must mean that they're considering him to be on the upper end of the roster, typically. Maybe we'll see him in next week's game, but I didn't see him play last night. I didn't hear his name, didn't see his name, didn't see his jersey. Nothing. Moore has a groin injury, John. So it shouldn't be a long-term injury, but anyone that has ever pulled a groin muscle, you know how nagging those can be, and especially at that position, just changing direction, turning and excelling, chasing down a running back, like you can damage it again. So they might take him a little bit. Now that would be another 2 weeks from today. We get really close to cut day. And if he's not progressing, do you put him on a list and then force yourself to keep, a couple of extra guys right now so you can make another, evaluation and then allow more to be, really healthy for the season, Good morning, Dwayne Keene. You jumped in. We're about ready to be done. Yeah, the groin could bother him all year. Exactly. If it's not fixed right. And so that's why I think that if you put more on a list and just let him get healthy for the first 4 games and you have the bye week in week 6, Like that's not going to hurt his season overall. It's not going to hurt the Lions right now because Ahmed Hassanin is playing better than Derek Moore. So I think the Lions are in good shape. You know, if anything, I could take Ahmed and bump him up one and drop Derek Moore back, but that wouldn't be the depth chart. That would just be, you know, players that I'm expecting, you know, to make it and you know, make the initial 53. Chris Smith, I didn't hear his name last night. Mekhi Wingo was banged up last night. And let's see what his all right, so he just had his bell rung. So he'll be in concussion protocol. You know, his stats last night were not impressive either. I don't even see him on the stat sheet. There he is. 1 solo tackle. That's it. 1 solo tackle. So if it were me right now, I mean, I'm probably taking Skylar Gill Howard and swapping him with Mekhi Wingo. What's going on here? There we go. I'm gonna drop Mekhi Wingo down. Now I don't think it's gonna stay that way, but I mean for right now, I think Skylar Gill Howard had the better night. I still think that Chris Smith is gonna be all right, but again, I just didn't see enough out of Chris Smith. But I'm gonna leave that one alone. It's going to be really hard for me to lock in Gill Howard. Miles Adams last night. Let's see. Did he even play? See, I don't have any snap counts either. Does this give me snap counts? It doesn't look like it gives me snap counts. I love the preseason because I get to get all these bugs worked out to where I can get. I lost my sheet. Last year I built a sheet that had every stat built for the post-game, pre-game. Former co-host definitely took it. All right, Skylar Gill Howard. I'm going to lock him in right now. But this is a room where I think the Lions are going to keep probably 10 total between edge and defensive line. 10 total. And right now, Tyree West didn't do anything. Mekhi Wingo didn't do enough. Those guys could end up on P squad. Miles Adams hasn't done enough. But again, I don't even know that he played last night. I didn't see him. He was probably out there. And I don't see him on the stat sheet. Did you guys see Miles Adams last night? It looks like he had 36 snaps, so he was out there. All right, so I've got some snap counts now. Let me go through some of these while I'm building this. Anthony Lucas played in 50% or 50 snaps, 71% of the snaps last night. They're really trying to get a good look, obviously, at Lucas. Eric O'Neal played in 54% of the snaps. Ahmed Hassanin at 41% and then 36%. So he 41 on defense, not 36 on special teams. Tyler Lacey was in last night for 13 reps. I didn't see him. Obviously, Peyton Turner, Derek Moore, injury. DJ Wanham, Aiden Hutchinson did not play. So there's that. Skylar Gill Howard put in 54% of the snaps on defense, 16% of the snaps on special teams. Onwuzurike did get in for 15 snaps, and he did get the start according to this. You know, when I look at snaps, I look at it two ways. One, you know, the more snaps a guy is getting, I think that it does one thing for sure. If you're trying to get a bunch of snaps on a guy, you either have a lot of questions or you want to see where they've developed and you want to give them as much time to develop, right? To get more of an opportunity to see how they can help your team. In this case, in preseason, I think it kind of follows that same, you know, linear path where the more snaps you're giving someone, you either have a lot of questions or you're trying to develop them. Ahmed Hassanin did not need to be out there that long last night. And they left him out there to continue developing him. And obviously to test his mettle to make sure that he wasn't going to break, you know, and have another injury. He had a close call, but he popped right up, went back out. Miles Adams had 51% of the snaps, so I think that's a player that they're trying to figure out. Now, I don't believe that Miles Adams made the 53 last year. Last season, it was Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, Tyleek Williams, Roy Lopez, Pat O'Connor, El-Quadin Muhammad, Mekhi Wingo, and Chris Smith. So 9. Nate Lynn, Miles Adams, Broderick Martin, Keith Cooper, Mitchell Agood, and Isaac Ukwu were all missed the cut. Ali McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike were on reserve PUP. Pascal was on reserve NFI. And Ahmed Hassanin was on injury settlement. So if you take any of that pie right there and try to slice it into this pie, the Lions kept 1, 2, 3. I mean, they only kept 3 edge. Like 3 legit edge rushers last year. And then they were banking on their inside-outside guys like Mekhi Wingo, Pat O'Connor, to be more of that edge factor. So do the Lions only keep 4 this year? I don't think that they can. I think that they have to keep 5. And I would say that that's my top 5. And as far as the defensive line, I think that they have to keep 5. And I would think that they want to keep 6. But Miles Adams didn't show up last night, so right now he's cut for me. Oh, Miles, Mekhi, Tyree West, he didn't do anything last night. Chris Smith, he had 29 reps, 41% of the snaps on defense, 16% of the snaps or 4 reps on special teams, and he was blanked. Nope, he had 1 tackle. In 1 tackle last night. I'm going to roll 10. I'll keep Chris Smith in for now. So there's my 10 for your defensive line. Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Moore, DJ Wanham, Tyler Lacey, Ahmed Hassanin, Ali McNeil, Tyleek Williams, Levi Onwuzurike, Chris Smith, Skylar Gill Howard. Now, I think where this could change is you might see Levi get pushed down, become the practice squad king of handshake deals. I think he would be more than willing to do that. And then you could sneak Mekhi Wingo back in. I do believe that that's a good option. Let's go to the linebacker room last night. Obviously, Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, they're locked. Devin White is locked. Let's take a look at the linebackers. Oh, it's not separating. Come on. Devin White didn't show up on the stat sheet. No surprise there. Trevor Nowatzki showed up with 1 tackle, 3 assists, 1 TFL. I can't wait to look at his splits because it would appear that Nowatzki might have had a couple of pass rush opportunities, and the Lions were flirting with that during camp. Damone Clark, I don't see him on the stat sheet. Not that it matters. Stats aren't everything. Troy Reeder, I don't see him on the stat sheet. We know Jimmy Rolder was out. So I can already take Jimmy Rolder out. I have a good feeling that Jimmy Rolder is going to be on a list. I do believe they're going to keep Malcolm Rodriguez. And the fact that the Lions are potentially going to be rolling a 4-2-5 as their base, potentially as their base, would tell me that they really don't have to keep 6 linebackers this year. But the question is Trevor Nowatzki and Damone Clark better than keeping Anthony Lucas, Miles Adams, Eric O'Neill, Mekhi Wingo, Tyree West, or Peyton Turner? I don't think that they're going to walk away from Peyton Turner, but I think that Peyton Turner is going to be on a list. And they're going to stash him for several weeks. Why? Because if there's an injury, he's there. And right now, you don't need him. You don't trade him, like that one stupid article tried to say. But, you know, the other players that I don't see on here is I don't see Joe Bacci. Oh, there he is. Eric Hunter, Amino. I mean, these are all legit guys that could really push for some time. I need to ungroup these. Hold on. There we go. Man, I'd really like to see Eric Hunter make this roster. I think that his special teams usage is going to be warranted. Joe Bacci last night. Nothing in the no stats. Amin O. And Amin O was productive. 2 tackles, 2 assists, 4 combined, 1 TFL. And it looks like he was involved in some of the pass rush snaps. So I'm going to slide Amin O up. Eric Hunter last night. I do not see him in the stat sheet. So we're going to put Eric Hunter on P Squad. Joe Bacci hopefully on P Squad as a vet. Damone Clark is going to be a lock. And I think that this next battle, I'm going to put Nowatzki and Amin O in the battle. I think Amin O is going to have an opportunity to make this roster. The question is, can Malcolm Rodriguez continue to play well and play well enough to end up making the roster? I don't think that there was ever a question before the season that he was going to make the roster. The question now is can Amin O push him? That's a sneaky signing there with Amin O. All right, here's what I'm going to do for P Squad. I'm going to go Eric Hunter. We're going to go Joe Bacci. We're going to go Anthony Lucas. We're going to go Eric O'Neal. Tyree West. Actually, I'll fix that later. I'll adjust these later. I'll put some colors to them. All right, DJ Reed, Rocky Sin, Nick Whiteside, Keith Abney. You are locked. You are absolutely locked on this roster. Cleo Dorsey, I think he's going to be locked on this roster. Keith Abney last night showed up big time. But why don't I see him? I don't see any stats. Absolutely, he had stats last night. I think I see why. It's not going by last name. It's going by first name. So Eric Hunter did show up. He did have 4 tackles last night, 4 combined. What does this do? Oh, it highlights him. Well, I like that. So I need to go back. Damone Clark. Devin White. There you are. 2 tackles, 1 assist, 3 combined. Cleo Dorsey. 2 tackles, 2 combined. Nick Whiteside. 1 assist, 1 combined. 1 pass defensed. McCreary had a pass defensed. Ryan Cooper had a pass defensed. Thomas Harper had a pass defensed. Looks like Blackshear had a fumble recovery. Luke Altmaier looks like he recovered his own fumble recovery. So did Blackshear. All right, so in the cornerback room, we don't know what's going on with Ennis Rakestraw. And who knows? Like, so the Lions could play the game because he suffered an injury in the game. They could play the game where they put him on a list and stash him for the season. You know, you put him on IR, designated to return. I think you have 8 or 10 that you can use. But when you go through cut day, I'm pretty positive that you can only put 2 guys on IR designated to return. So they've got to play this game right with the players that they want to keep. So DJ Reed, Rocky Sin, Nick Whiteside, Cleo Dorsey, Keith Abney. I think that those are going to be all players that make this roster. I'm not sure what's going on with Ennis and the injury and how long that's going to take. Bone contusion could take several weeks. It could take a week. And again, they could slow walk it. So I'm going to highlight him in mustard because I don't know. Trevor Nowaski and Agbonomiga, I'm going to change their color to green, which means they're just in a battle. Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, they're on NFI, so they don't count. We'll tag them in blue. They don't count. Chuck Clark, Avante Maddox, Thomas Harper, those guys are locks. Dan Jackson last night. Where's Dan? Nothing. He had 1 special teams tackle. Lauren Strickland last night. 1 combined tackle, so not a whole lot of production out of those guys. And so what I'd be asking right now is Lauren Strickland or Dan Jackson worth me losing another player? So is Dan Jackson or Lauren Strickland going to be more valuable than an Anthony Lucas or an Eric O'Neal? And the answer would be no. Is Lauren Strickland or Dan Jackson going to be more valuable than Trevor Nowaski or Amon O? Probably not. Probably not. And with Kirby and Brian, we don't know when they're coming back. We at least know that we have two guys coming back later, hopefully. We know Brian will at some point. We don't know about Kirby. Can the Lions get away with 3 safeties? They could, but they need a 4th because you need a 4th. But this is where Christian Izien comes into play. Christian Izien can play the strong safety, and he can also play the nickel. So you have versatility there. Roger McCreary, I don't think he's going anywhere. They're going to keep that vet locked down, even though last night I think he played better than he did in practice. Some players are just like that. They play better under the lights than they do on the practice field. He had 3 assists last night, 4 combined tackles, 1 pass defense. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That gives me 10 in the DB room, and quite honestly, I think that's where you're going to be. I think you're going to be at 10, maybe 11 at the most, with 2 guys returning. So in yellow, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Do I really have 25 guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25. So I have 25. All right, let's move on to the offense. This one should be a lot easier. J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Panay, Juice, K to be on a list, Tate, Larry, Sam, Tesla, Goff, Gibbs. These guys are locked. Cade Mays is going to be on a list. Dortch, Mahogany, Barch, Miller, Wright. Pacheco should be good. They're locks. Vaki could be on a list. Conklin, Seth, Frazier, Meeks, locks. I need to separate these 2 guys. All right, so Kai Robichaud, Blackshear, Small, Thomas Gordon, Zach Horton. Those guys are going to be P squad or cuts. I'm going to go Vaki and Sailors for right now. This, as Dan mentioned last night, this room could get down to just 3. Priestley's gone. Manu is going to be gone. He's going to be at least on a list or injury settlement. So let me start with the offensive line because this is always the hardest part. You got Panay, Juice, Tate, Larry, Blake, Ben, Christian Mahogany, Miles Frazier, Seth McLaughlin. That's 9. All right, Miller, Sorsdahl. They're going to be cuts or P squad. Michael Neese did not have a good game last night, so we're gonna take Seth. Going to move him up. We're going to put Nice cut or P squad. Let's just move Geo back here. This is where it gets tough with the receivers, man, because let's just get Kate out of there. Oh, what am I doing? Duh. Okay. That's looking a little bit better. Let's just move all these three guys back. I want to see Mason Miller really develop, take a couple of steps. And I think on the P squad, he can do that. I'm not sold on Devin Cochran right now, but Miles Frazier has to step it up for the Lions to keep him. Let's take Blake Miller in and let's pop him in at right tackle for now. The way that Larry Borum played last night, y'all, look, I think that there is a potential that Larry Borum could overtake. It could legit overtake Blake Miller. I know that sounds like a wild-ass statement, and maybe it is. But we'll see how he develops. All right, I'm going to take Devin Cochran. We're going to move him back. I know this is like the most boring part of the shows when we do 53s. They're terrible. I like Cedric Wilson for now. I just got to find a way to keep him. The biggest question is Dobbs or Altmaier. And quite honestly, I like Altmaier. The Lions are going to have to figure out a way to keep three. And I don't think that's going to happen unless Josh Dobbs decides to say, you know what, put me on P squad. I'll be more than happy to stick around. I think he feels really comfortable in this offense with this team because he has history here. He has history with Drew. And he knows that this team has an opportunity to go win a Super Bowl this year. So as far as Eric Hunter, like I see some of the comments, look, it's not about, like, first of all, 4 tackles is not impressive in a preseason game. They're stats. They don't mean anything. What I want to see is I want to see guys cover. Tackling is one thing. That's one part of the job. Right? What's the most important part of the job for a linebacker? Eric Hunter's size, who's highly undersized. What's his job? Special teams. How is he going to make special teams over some of these other guys? That's the biggest question you got to answer, right? So how are you going to keep a straight up special teamer over a guy that can play? What is wrong with my lines? Why are they not showing up? What in the world? Something's off. How are you going to keep just a special teamer that I mean, it has decent value, but are you telling me that you're going to, here, let me go back to defense, since that's what you're talking about. You're telling me that you're going to put Eric Hunter over Barnes, Campbell, White, Malcolm, or Damone Clark? How many linebackers are you going to keep? You think we're going to keep 9? Even 7? I think it's going to be really tough to keep 6. And so when I look at this, I'm saying, okay, look, Damone Clark, he's a vet. He could be a dog and go to the vet squad knowing that he's going to get called up. Trevor Nowaski, he's a vet, right? He's been in the league at least 4 years now, right? Or is it this is only his 3rd year? So this is the games that I play with it because I understand roster construction. I understand how these guys do things. I get about 95 to 90, 97-ish% of my roster calculations right every year. The ones that I miss are usually like practice squad players because Brad goes out and finds other guys. So he's been with the Lions since 2023. Now the question is, how many games did he play? Did he play at least 6 games every year? So this would be his 4th year. And so for any guys to make the practice squad, you can only have 2 guys or 6 guys with 2 or more years on your practice squad. So it is a game that they have to play to maximize the number of guys on defense that they're going to keep on the active, and then the number of guys they're going to put on the practice squad. You need 6 guys that are vets. Everybody else has to be a rookie. And you can only protect, I think it's 6. I thought they changed the rule, but I know some changed since Ovid, so I just got to remember. So 4 players. You can protect up to 4 players. So you have 16 players. And essentially 10 of them are protected because 4 can be protected by you, and they have to clear waivers, mind you. They have to clear waivers first. And then 6 are vets. And so if you have a good relationship with them, they're not going to go anywhere. Now, if they are tempted with a lucrative contract and it's not just the base, minimum of an NFL practice squad player, I think practice squad players make, I don't know, was it $26,000 a week? Between, call it 14 and 23,000 a week. So their 18-week regular season earnings ranges between 250 and 411,000 a year. That's it to be on the practice squad. And I don't know if you can give, I haven't ever really researched this. I don't know if you can give a practice squad player more money. Maybe that's just up to the team. So I don't know if you can just give them more money to make sure that they're happy. So that's the dance, right? I want to keep you on P Squad because you're a vet and I trust you. Let me just look this up. Okay. According to the NFL CBA, the minimums, the floor is their base, which is a minimum. Hold on. They can pay him up to the maximum of 23. I think it's 23,000 a week. That's it. So what is that? The $411 or $411,000 range. You know, if you got some vets that, you know, should be making 2, 3, 4 million a year, they're not going to want to be on P Squad. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they're older vets and their career's just about over, then yeah, they're just collecting a check to hang out. But when they get, you know, elevated for some games, which they should, well, then they'll make some more money. But it's such a difficult job. Like, a lot of people really discredit what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have to do. And so it's not that I'm against Eric Hunter, but look, y'all, you can't get attached to a player just because you're attached to a player. We all love certain players. I don't love any of them when I do this. I don't have any emotion for any of these guys when I put this together. There is zero emotion for me. It's 100% unbiased. Because if it was biased, trust me, there would be some players that I'm trading right now. But there's nobody on this roster that's really worth trading unless it's one of our high caliber players. And that just doesn't make any sense right now. So let's get back to offense. Or let me go back to Hunter. Hunter is an amazing athlete. Special teams value is off the charts. The problem is you have to find a way to keep Hunter and have that make more sense than not keeping an extra end, not keeping an extra line or an extra defensive lineman, not keeping an extra safety or defensive, a cornerback or a sixth receiver. Like, that's the game. And he's not a vet. So kind of screwed. And I just don't see the value of keeping a pure special teams guy who's not really going to see the field unless you find a way to put him, in the game in your sub package or your nickel package where he can be used. And you'll see this in the article that drops today because I wrote about it, exactly about Eric Hunter and what I envisioned for his position to really be in this new defense. And I'll give you a hint. It's the Brian Branch role. I see Eric Hunter as the star in the nickel. And star, it's a position. It doesn't mean he's an all-star. I see him in the star position, kind of like a robber role, because he's a mix of a very small linebacker and a very big safety. He could definitely play in that role, but is there another player that can play in that role too? Yes. And when Brian Branch gets back, what are you going to do? And so I don't think you want to lose a player for, several weeks while Brian Branch is coming back. You don't want to lose a player if at all possible. All right, so far, where am I at? We got 11. We've got 20, 21, 22, 23. We have 24. 24 and 25 makes 49. So I got one more player I get to pick on offense. Because then I have my special teams guys. Let's go to special teams real quick. Lock. By the way, Hogan Hatton last night, talking about special teams, that dude ran down, I believe it was on a kickoff, might have been a punt, and just smoked someone. I think it was the ball carrier, quite honestly. There's more to Hogan Hatton's game than what meets the eye, man. He's been uniquely special on special teams. Am I making sense on the whole thing? Like, it's nothing personal. It's just really difficult to keep everybody. All right, how many receivers do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 receivers. Cedric Wilson or Dominic Lovett. Malik Cunningham. I don't think that Malik Cunningham did anything last night. I don't see him on the board. Tariq Black. Let me get offense up. Why is this only showing defense? And when I pick another position, it just doesn't show you anything. I don't understand. All right, so I'm just going to finish this out. Tom Kennedy is, I don't see the Lions just being super nice and saying, hey, we're going to throw you on the roster. Love Tom. He's been a career practice squad guy. He's good with that. I think that's where he goes. Tate Martin, sorry, I just don't think it's going to happen. One play is not enough for me. Dominic Lovett, I think that there's more there, but I think that Cedric Wilson can outplay Dominic Lovett, and Dominic Lovett might end up on a P squad. Malik Cunningham, we're going to throw him to the back. So, Lucky Jackson, Tom Kennedy. All right, let's just move Tom Kennedy back even further. Now I've got him out of order, but whatever. So Dominic Lovett, Cedric Wilson I have down here. I'm going to put him in mustard because he's like on the fence. I'm going to put Lovett in mustard. So that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 23. I like Lucky unless he turns it on. I think Tariq Black might have a shot, even though he's down on my list right now. I think that the Lions want some size in that room. And so I'm just going to put him up for now in mustard. So I'm not totally settled yet. The Lions keep 5 or the Lions keep 6. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 on the offensive line. That includes 2 centers. And Juice Scruggs can also play both guard spots. Miles Frazier can play both guard and both right and left tackle, so we have plenty of coverage. Ben Barch can play the guard spots. Larry Borum can play the both tackle spots. So I think we're good there. Jackson Meeks has an uphill climb to be the 4th tight end, but I think the Lions are going to keep 4 tight ends. We need to see Tyler Conklin turn it on. Joshua Dobbs, I have him ahead of Luke Altmaier right now. And then that could change because, again, I think the handshake deal might put Dobbs on the P squad, but I don't think he wants to make $23,000. Unless they do something where they give him a signing bonus and then park him down on the P squad. That's always possible. I think that Giovanni Manu is going to be on a list. Cade Mays is going to be on a list. So I've got 23 on offense. 23 on offense, 25 on defense. That's 48. And then on special teams, I have 3. That's 51. So that means I have 2 more positions open, and that is going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I have 5 receivers, so that could be a 6th receiver. It could be a 10th offensive lineman. Or with those 2 open spots, this is where I go back to the defense. You know, Ennis Rakestraw, if he's healthy, he probably makes it. But I got this fight between Trevor Nowaski and Amin O, so one of those guys has to make it. So that's where your next 2 spots come from. It's either going to be a 6th receiver or a change at the 5th receiver. It's either going to be a 5th or I'm sorry, a 6th linebacker, or it's going to be an extra defensive back. And that's where I'm at for the day. And I'm all out of time. Y'all been great. I got to go to the doctor. We'll see you guys later on, probably over the weekend. And then I think we have practice on Sunday. So I'll be out there on Sunday. And then we finish up camp on the 19th. And we're getting ever so close. So we'll see you guys here later on. Take care. Go in pride. Adios. And when we get back in and do a night show, let's do the 53-man rosters together. Y'all put yours together. I'll put mine. Start sending it into mailbag@rockdon.com. Just send in your 53. We'll review them all together. We're going to do a member show next week, and that would be great to get a lot of participation. We'll see you guys later. Take care.